Chapter 2262. The people in the stone room were very surprised to see Wuxia and Wu Xiaodao. They had all gone through untold hardships to reach this step. Even if it was them, they were more or less injured. But these two little guys did not have any injuries on their bodies. Even their clothes were not wrinkled. The two of them walked through the dangerous mausoleum like it was flat ground. This was too inconceivable. Could it be that they were stronger than them? Impossible. The two of them were clearly only in their teens. How could they be two old monsters? The little old man saw that the two of them were unharmed and said, "How did you two get here?" "We walked over." Wu Xiaodao's question made people stumble. "How is that possible? You two are not injured at all. Who would believe that you walked over like this?" A woman shouted. "Old eight, you know them?" A tall and thin old man asked. A pair of eyes swept over Wu Xiaodao's body. Wu Xiaodao did not like this feeling. "I know them." The little old man told them about how he caught them. "Are you sure they don't have any strength? Your barrier is so powerful. If they really did what you said, how could they come out of the barrier?" The woman questioned his words. "Gee, it's just a barrier. What's so difficult about it? You want to trap us with it? You're too naive." Wu Xiaodao sneered. "How did you come out of my barrier?" The little old man asked in a deep voice. "No matter what barrier it is, a knot-breaking bead was enough to solve it," Wu Xiaodao said proudly. "These two little guys are too strange. I think we should first deal with them before we talk about opening the coffin." The middle-aged man who had not spoken until now stared at Wu Qiao and said, "These two children gave people a very strange feeling." He was not sure who was behind these two children. Compared to these familiar old guys, it was better to deal with these two unstable factors first. The little old man was a bit hesitant. Wu Qiao still had some ability. If it were not for him, he would not have been the first to come to the mausoleum. If he kept him, he might be useful in the future. But looking at the other three people, they did not want to keep them. If he insisted on keeping them, he would become enemies with the other three. They did not form an alliance. If the three of them fought against him because of this, he had no chance of winning. Therefore, after struggling for a while, he agreed to their suggestion. Wu Qiao pulled Wu Xiaodao behind him and looked at the four peak monarch rank people who were emitting killing intent without showing any fear. His aura made it seem as if he was the one overlooking the world. This caused the four of them to be shocked, and they were even more certain that they were not ordinary people. The more unusual they were, the more they had to be dealt with as soon as possible to avoid more trouble. Just as they were about to make a move, the stone door in the other direction was opened. Three people who looked to be in a sorry state, but were not injured walked in from the outside. "It seems that our speed is still relatively slow." Kane and Xian quickly sized up the people in the room and recognized two of them. Since the other two were able to confront them, it meant that their strength was about the same as theirs. Sima Yue looked at Wu Qiao and Wu Xiaodao. Both of them were unscathed, which made her heart settle down. This mausoleum was very strange. If the two of them encountered any danger, she might not be able to rush to their side immediately. Looking at how Wu Qiao was protecting Wu Xiaodao with one hand and forming a seal with the other, she immediately understood the situation before they came. These people actually wanted to kill the two of them. The woman glanced at Sima Yue and the other two and did not put them in her eyes. They were not powerful people, so there was no need to care. On the contrary, it was better to deal with these two children of unknown origin first. She condensed her spiritual power and attacked Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao. Because they were in the tomb, the power she used was small after all, but it was still not something that the two children could resist. However, the power was swallowed by a black fog when it approached them. The black fog gradually gathered and slowly formed the appearance of a man. It was Xiaohe who had transformed into a human. Xiaohe looked at the woman and attacked in a flash. He actually forced the woman to the point where she was unable to fight back. They actually had such a powerful person by their side. They were indeed not ordinary people. When the middle-aged man saw this, he would not let them go. While Xiaohe and the woman were fighting, he attacked Wu Qiao. Mi-air came down from Wu Xiaodao's arm and caught the middle-aged man's palm. Because both of them were not weak, the mausoleum trembled. However, he did not know what the almighty person used to build the mausoleum. It did not collapse even after such a fight. It was no wonder that they were not afraid at all when they had two people who were at the peak of the monarch rank by their side. It was no wonder that the two little fellows did not panic when they were held hostage for a few days. It turned out that they had such a thing to rely on. But since they had such powerful people by their side, why were they willing to follow him for so long? The little old man stared at Wuxia and Wu Xiaodao, wanting to see the answer from them. Old 8. What are you still standing there for? If we don't kill these two people, we will leave behind trouble in the future. The thin and tall man shouted at the little old man. The little old man was a little tempted. The man saw that he was still hesitating and his figure moved, about to attack Wuxia. You 4 old men are bullying 2 children. This is shameless to a certain extent. Sima Yue crossed her arms in front of her chest and said faintly, if you don't want to die, don't get involved. The thin and tall man shouted. I really want to get involved. What can you do to me? Sima Yue shouted. I will deal with you after I take care of those 2 people. The thin and tall man glanced at her and turned to attack Wu Qiao. Jia Nanxin saw the killing intent in the man's eyes. This was a peak of the monarch rank. Why did she want to get involved? But before he could say anything, she disappeared from his side. The thin and tall man flew over to attack Wu Qiao in an instant. But the 2 people who were in front of them just now disappeared. Looking at the empty stone room door, he was stunned. With your speed, you are still a little slow. A faint voice came from behind, shouting with undisguised sarcasm. He turned around and saw Sima Yue standing in the same place, as well as Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao beside her. Everyone was shocked. How did this person do it? But the next scene was even more shocking. They saw Wu Xiaodao hugging Sima Yue. His eyes instantly turned red as he shouted at her. Mother, when did you come to the mountain? I missed you so much. What? This woman was the mother of these 2 children? Jia Nanxin was stunned by the scene in front of her. Sima Yue didn't push this little girl away. Was she really their mother? Chapter 2263. Sima Yue hugged Wu Xiaodao and patted her back. Mother has always been here. Ah, mother has always been here? Wu Xiaodao was stunned. She looked at Wu Qiao. He was not surprised at all and said, Little Yao Yao, you know that mother has always been following us? Yes. Wu Qiao replied. If he did not know that Sima Yue was beside them, he would not have been so calm from the beginning. Little Yao Yao, you didn't even tell me. Wu Xiaodao was unhappy. Why did he know but she did not? All right, now is not the time to talk about this. Sima Yue comforted her. Let's settle the matter here first. Yes, I'll deal with you later. Wu Xiaodao glared at Wu Qiao and stood beside Sima Yue obediently. Yue, you really have children? Jia Nanxin was shocked. Yes, this is Xiaodao, this is little Yao Yao. Sima Yue pointed at Jia Nanxin and said, Call him Uncle Jia Nanxin. Uncle Jia Nanxin. The 2 children said in unison. Good children. Jia Nanxin nodded at them. The little old man and the tall skinny man looked at Sima Yue. They no longer looked down on her after she saved them. Old 8, are you still going to stand by and do nothing? The tall skinny man asked. But the tall skinny man alone might not be able to deal with Sima Yue, so the little old man had to take action this time. Jia Nanxin and Yanji could be ignored. They could definitely deal with Sima Yue together. This place is so small, I think it's better if we don't fight. Jia Nanxin said. If this place collapses, not only will everyone be injured, we will also not be able to get the inheritance. 1 against 2, he was worried that Sima Yue would not be able to handle it. Mother, forget it, let's go? Wu Qiao said. Sima Yue looked at Wu Qiao. He winked at her and nodded. Then let's go. Mi-Er Nameless come back. Mi-Er and Xiaohei obviously had the upper hand. When they heard Sima Yue's order, they returned without hesitation. Mother, let's go that way. Wu Xiaodao pointed at the path they came from. Kanan Xian and Yanji were only able to come this far because of Sima Yue. They had also obtained some treasures on their way here. They knew that they would not be able to obtain anything in the end, so they did not hesitate to leave with them. The little old man and the others stared at them as they left. No one said anything to stop them. If they were to fight against these people, they might not necessarily win. Now that they had taken the initiative to leave, the four of them did not have to worry about them snatching the inheritance. After he left, the four of them returned to their initial confrontation. However, it was different now because two of them were injured by Mi'er and Xiaohei. The lanky man and the small old man looked at each other and attacked the remaining two people at the same time. The four of them were originally evenly matched, but because of the interlude, the balance was broken. Sima Yue knew that once they left, the four of them would definitely fight. However, this had nothing to do with them anymore. Wuxia led the group back the way they came. They did not encounter any danger along the way. When they were about to leave the tomb, they met a few people. When those people saw them, their first reaction was to go forward and rob them. However, they were all killed by Mi'er and Xiaohei. When they reached the pool, there were even more corpses here. The entire pool was densely packed, and it made one's scalp tingle. Seeing those corpses, Sima Yue frowned and called little birdie out. Even though it was in the water, it quickly burned those corpses and burned a path. What they did not know was that when little birdie came out, a few closed eyes opened together. He was back. Sima Yue and the rest came out of the pool. Little birdie returned to her body. Qi Yan suddenly sent her a message. Don't reveal my aura in the future. Sima Yue was shocked. What's wrong? Qi Yan told her about how he was discovered. Sima Yue was a little regretful. Why didn't you stop me just now? What if she really brought trouble to him because of her? You don't have to worry. I deliberately let them discover me. Qi Yan's voice was colder than before. I haven't been back for so many years. I want to see how powerful they are. However, because he was not confident and did not know the current situation in the divine territory, Sima Yue could not reveal his aura. I understand. Sima Yue replied. However, since they can discover that you are back, then Fushi. He has not completely evolved into the green dragon. Therefore, they will not take him seriously. Moreover, he has people protecting him. What Qi Yan did not say was that one of the important reasons why they let Fushi go was because only the green dragon was here. Moreover, his power had not been inherited. However, now that he was here, they would pay more attention to him. Mother, what are you thinking about? Wu Xiaodao held Sima Yue's hand. You don't look good at all. I prefer Mother's look. Sima Yue removed her fusion with Thousand Resonance and returned to her original appearance. Mother, did you turn into a lot of people and follow us? Wu Xiaodao said with certainty. Your brother is much more sensitive than you. Sima Yue said. He only knows how to play. He doesn't even know that someone is following us. Wu Xiaodao laughed. She was indeed not as sensitive as little Yao Yao. However, she also knew that Sima Yue and Wu Qiao did not tell her because they wanted her to play freely. Oh right, little Yao Yao, why did you let us out just now? The coffin is empty. There is nothing inside. Wu Qiao said. I see. You are right. We came here for nothing. Wu Xiaodao thought about how she did not get anything this time, and felt a little depressed. Jianan Xian sized up Wu Qiao. She did not know why he was so sure. Sima Yue and Wu Xiaodao did not even need to check before believing him. Since we have entered the tomb, let's go out. Little Dan is still waiting for us outside. Sima Yue said. Jianan Xian heard Jianan Dan's name and nodded in agreement. They had originally planned to leave. Now that they were able to get some treasures in the tomb, it was already an unexpected surprise. He was also quite satisfied. Then I will call Little Roar and the rest back. Sima Yue was just about to contact Little Roar when she heard him crying for help. Little Yu, come quickly. We are going to be caught and eaten. Little Roar cried. Sima Yue sensed for a moment and her face darkened. She said to Jianan Xian and Yanji, wait for me here. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure suddenly vanished on the spot without the slightest fluctuation. And this scene caused Jianan to be extremely shocked. In these few decades, how much had she grown? Chapter 2264. Sima Yue and Little Roar were not far from each other, so it did not take long for them to reach there. When she came out of the space and saw the scene in front of her, she shivered. She saw hundreds of people surrounding Little Seven and the rest, and even used some medicine on them, making everyone else immobile except for little Hua. Little Hua was strong, but he could not withstand so many people, and there were still people coming from afar. Very good. Yue was anxious, so she hid her presence in the air, and then used the top-grade purple lightning in her body to attract the lightning tribulation. Those people were still chasing after them, and when Little Seven and the rest saw the tribulation cloud above their heads, their eyes were filled with joy. Yu was here, they were saved. The people on the ground did not notice the dark clouds above their heads at first, as they were all excited. The eye of the earth, just a little bit would help them increase their strength. Seeing Little Seven like this, she probably had quite a few original bodies. They did not want to monopolize it. Even if they could get a share of it, it would be good. When they felt a different energy locking onto them, they woke up from their dream and looked up at the tribulation cloud in the sky. They knew that they were locked onto by the tribulation cloud and immediately panicked. Why is there a tribulation cloud? So many people. It was not known who shouted, but everyone recovered from their shock and became even more panicked. With so many strong people gathered together, how strong would the tribulation cloud be? Who exactly attracted the lightning tribulation? Ha ha ha, who asked you to poison me? This time, I'll let you have a taste of being barbecued. Little Roar laughed. Although he could not use his spiritual energy, his voice was still loud, and in this chaotic space, it could still be heard very far. What? This tribulation cloud was actually related to them? Although the people outside saw the tribulation cloud, they had already entered, and were locked onto in an instant. Thus, the tribulation cloud's range became bigger and bigger, and the energy became stronger and stronger. Those with fast eyes and quick reactions saw that the tribulation cloud had stopped, and the number of people who entered the tribulation decreased. At this time, those who were flying in the sky had already landed on the ground, as if they were thinking that if they were shorter, the tribulation cloud might strike those who were taller first. In this way, everyone saw Sima Yue, who was standing in the sky, her eyes filled with killing intent. You're finally here. If you didn't come, you wouldn't have been able to see us again. Woo woo woo. Little Roar howled sadly. Sima Yue waved her hand, and a force swept the beasts into the air. She took out an antidote and fed it to them. Once the poison was cured, they would be able to stand by her side. Xiahua transformed into a little doll and stood beside her. Thank you for your hard work. Sima Yue patted Xiahua's head and praised him. These people poisoned Little Seven and the others. This poison was overbearing. No matter if it was plant type or animal type, they couldn't use spiritual energy. Therefore, it could be said that Xiahua was the only one protecting them along the way. Xiahua was not happy to be praised. Xiahua is still not strong enough. If he had been stronger, no one would have been injured. You're already very good, Sima Yue said. Go back when the lightning tribulation starts. Now we can watch the ugliness of those people in the face of death. Who are you? Why did you attract the lightning tribulation? Someone shouted. Those panicking people quieted down and stared at Sima Yue with hatred. Puffed. Sima Yue was so angry that she laughed. She moved her mind and a small throne appeared behind her. She sat on it and bent down to look at the people below. Before you ask such a childish question, did you ask yourself if you brought your brain with you? You poisoned my contracted beasts and chased them here. The one who asked this question, tell me, why did I attract the lightning tribulation? You. What about me? You wanted to kill my contracted beasts. Didn't you think that someone would kill you? Sima Yue didn't give that person any time to reply. She sneered. I just don't know if you can bear the result. Do you know who we are? Aren't you afraid of revenge for killing like this? Someone threatened. Why do I need to know who you are? Little Purple appeared in her arms, and her hand caressed its back, looking extremely lazy. She had a smile on her face, but it was like a devil's snare blooming in hell. No matter who you are, it's the same to me. Anyone who dares to have ideas about my spirit beasts only has one identity, my enemy. So don't say such childish words. The tribulation clouds in the sky were still thickening. This meant that the lightning tribulation was still getting stronger. The people below were scared out of their wits. But they couldn't leave. They could only see if they had any way to survive. The lightning tribulation here had attracted the attention of the entire Dear God Mountain. This level of lightning tribulation was going to destroy the entire Dear God Mountain. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao saw the tribulation clouds and shouted, "Not good, someone made mother angry." After saying that, the two of them flew towards the tribulation clouds. Jia Nanxin and Yanji were worried about them and also flew over. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao flew outside the tribulation clouds and stopped. Seeing the densely packed people, they were worried. "Little Yao Yao, will mother be okay?" "She won't be." Wu Qiao didn't know how these people offended Sima Yue, but they must have angered her quite a bit. That's why she chose to use this method to deal with them. The tribulation clouds in the sky almost reached the ground. This was the first time in the divine realm that something like this had happened. A bolt of lightning struck down. It didn't hit Sima Yue, but instead, it struck the people below. With the first bolt, the rest of the tribulation lightning struck down one after another. It was like a rain of lightning. This scene shocked the people outside who were watching the show. Sima Yue sat on the small throne and looked at the various reactions of the people below. The large bolts of lightning were absorbed by Little Purple when they landed on her body. The normal bolts of lightning circled around her body and fell into the spirit pool. Everyone else was struck into charcoal, but she was completely fine. Mother's clothes were specially refined for the lightning tribulation. How could they be burnt? Wu Xiaodao said proudly. Jia Nanxin looked at Sima Yue, who was in the middle of the lightning tribulation. She didn't know how to look at her martial granduncle anymore. Thinking of the time when she was in the hidden sect, and thinking of her strength this time, she sympathized with these people. Of all the people they could provoke, they had to provoke her. The lightning tribulation struck for a whole day tirelessly, killing and crippling those people. Only then did the cloud spirit pat its butt and leave. Thousands of people fell to the ground. This time it was a real black mass. Sima Yue got up and kept the small throne. She carried Little Purple in her arms and said faintly, "If you're not convinced, you can come and find me. Anyway, I haven't attracted lightning to temper my body in a long time." After saying that, she suddenly appeared in front of Wu Xiaodao and the rest. Then, she left with Wu Xiaodao and the rest, leaving behind a ground of charcoal. Chapter 2265. The trees on Mount Dear God were chopped down, and the ground was scorched. The corpses were beyond recognition, and could not be identified. This tragic scene was unforgettable for the rest of their lives. As for the culprit, she was still elegantly dressed. She left with her people, leaving them with a clear and beautiful back view. Those people wanted to get the Eye of Earth, but were shocked by her move, and did not dare to act recklessly. What a joke! Who would dare to go up to someone who was unharmed in such a strong lightning tribulation? Wasn't that just seeking death? What if she was in a bad mood, and attracted the lightning tribulation again? Who could escape unscathed? Thinking of Little Seven and the rest, they were not satisfied. Such a treasure was actually someone else's contracted beast. How good would it be if they could get it? Sima Yue brought the group out of Mount Dear God, and came out of the space. Sima Yue called out a few beasties, wanting to ask about what happened. "Little Roar, are you being playful again?" Sima Yue asked with a solemn face. Little Roar had been holding back his anger. He felt that he was the one who wanted Little Seven to go with them. At that time, he thought that Little Seven was strong and would be safe with her. If he did not bring it up, it would not have led to such a situation and implicated everyone. Although he was saved in the end, he still felt very guilty. Now that Sima Yue asked, he started crying. You can't blame Little Roar for this." Little Dream said, "We were in the mountains previously and heard about the tomb from those spirit beasts. Little Roar did not do anything overboard. It was a coincidence that Little Seven's identity was discovered. We did not expect that someone with such mediocre strength would be able to sniff out Little Seven's real body." "That's true. There were many people and Little Seven's identity was spread." Hua spoke up for Little Roar. "Little Yu, I'm sorry. If I did not insist on going out, it would not have led to such a situation." Little Seven lowered her head and clenched her fists in regret. They all knew that if little Seven's identity was exposed, it would bring a lot of trouble to Sima Yue. So they all blamed themselves. Since this matter has already been discovered, let's not think about it anymore. Sima Yue hugged little Roar. As for little Seven, I want to see how many people are willing to sacrifice their lives for treasures. When Kanan Xian saw the murderous intent emanating from her body, she thought about how she had killed so many people without expending a single soldier. She knew it was because she was angry, but she did not expect it to be because of her contracted beast. No one knew who this little Seven was to actually attract so many people to fight over her. Soon he received the news. Little Seven looked at the girl who was about the same age as Wu Xiaodao. She didn't expect her to be the Eye of Earth. When they returned to the inn, Sima Yue asked him to wait for a while. She went out and soon returned with Kanan Dan. When Kanan Dan saw Kanan Xian, she ran over excitedly and hugged him. Brother, I've finally met you. Kanan Xian's usually cold face finally revealed a trace of a smile when he saw Kanan Xian. However, it was fleeting, and in the next second he returned to his cold expression. Not only that, he even pulled Kanan Dan from his body and slapped his butt twice. He shouted, "Do you know your mistake?" Kanan Dan's excited little face immediately collapsed. She lowered her head and admitted her mistake. "I heard that you were in danger, so? Do you know how many guards you've lost by coming out so rashly? If you hadn't met Yue coincidentally and brought you here, do you think you'd still be alive? If something were to happen to you, what would I do? What would the family do?" Kanan Xian reprimanded. Kanan Dan thought about the guards who had died and blamed himself. He cried out, "I didn't want them to die, but they're all dead. It's all my fault. Woo woo woo, big brother, I was wrong." Before this, he did not shed a single tear in front of Sima Yue. Now that he saw his family, the fear and self-blame in his heart gushed out. He hugged Kanan Xian and cried. Kanan Xian sighed. In the end, it was because he wasn't strong enough that he couldn't protect him. Sima Yue gave him a look and opened the door to leave. Wu Xiaodao came out from the room next door. He looked at Sima Yue and said, "Mother, are we going back to Kanan's house with him?" Sima Yue shook her head. "We're not going. We'll go back to the Chan family first." Mother, why do you want to go back to the Chan family?" Wu Xiaodao asked curiously. "I have nothing to do anyway," Sima Yue said, and went back to her room. Wu Xiaodao shrank into Wu Qiyao's room and said, "Little Yao Yao, do you know why Mother wants to go back to the Chan family? Mother is the young master of the 9 Nether clan. What's so strange about going back?" Wu Qiao said lightly. "Mother didn't say that she wanted to go back. Maybe she changed her mind." Wu Qiao said, "She's going back anyway. It's just that it's early. If you're really curious, you can ask Mother." Wu Xiaodao pursed his lips. Mother would tell her. Why would she ask him? In less than 2 days, Kanan's people came looking for them. Sima Yue saw the huge group of people and knew that Kanan Xian and the rest could go back without a problem. "Yue's sister, come to our place to play when you're free." Kanan Xian couldn't bear to part with Yue and the rest. Her little eyes were red. "Okay." Kanan Xian nodded at Sima Yue and left with her people. Sima Yue called Chan Jiu out. He was familiar with the divine territory, and naturally knew how to get to the Chan family. However, before they left the inn, they met the first group of people who came to snatch Little Seven. Maybe it was because they were afraid of her ability to pass the tribulation. Those people attacked without saying a word. It was as if they didn't want to give her a chance to trigger the lightning tribulation. This woman wasn't very strong. As long as they didn't give her a chance to trigger the lightning tribulation, they would definitely be able to kill her. As long as she died, the Eye of the Earth would be without an owner. They attacked fiercely the moment they arrived. Sima Yue obviously knew what they were trying to do. However, if they wanted to kill her with this kind of strength, they were dreaming too much. Sima Yue called me heir, and the rest out. The few of them each took on a few people and finished off all the people who came. These people are really fast. Looks like we have to leave this place quickly. Sima Yue kept them into the spirit pagoda and took out a small throne to sit on. After sitting on it, she disappeared immediately. Not long after she left, Thousands of people came to the inn. They were all people who came from Dear God Mountain. When they surrounded the inn and saw the corpses, they knew that Sima Yue had escaped. They were all filled with regret. Chapter 2266. Liao City wasn't very eye-catching in the Divine Realm, because there weren't any particularly powerful forces here. That wasn't right either. This place used to be very prosperous before the Nine Nether clan declined. Sima Yue didn't find Chan Shan immediately after arriving at Liao City. Instead, she found an inn to stay in. Wu Xiaodao leaned on Sima Yue, holding her hand and resting her head on her shoulder. This was her favorite action since she was young. "Mother, why aren't we going back now that we're here?" She realized that she didn't know what her mother was thinking ever since she came out of Dear God Mountain. She was the one who said she wanted to come back, but she didn't go back after coming back. She didn't understand. "Let's meet two people first before going back." Sima Yue patted her hand. "This is the Chan family's territory. If you and Xiao Yao Yao want to go out, you can go out and play." Wu Xiaodao rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "Okay. Xiao Yao Yao, come out with me." Wu Qiao got up and followed her out. When they were outside, he asked, "What do you want to do now?" "Let's find father," Wu Xiaodao said. "I have a feeling that mother is going to do something later. With father around, no one can bully mother." Wu Qiao smiled. "It's rare for you to be smart for once." "What's smart for once? I'm very smart." Wu Xiaodao shook her fist at her brother. "Since you agree with my idea, let's contact father. It will probably take him a few days to settle the matters at hand." "No need, I've already told father," Wu Qiao said. "You've already told father? When? Why didn't you tell me?" Wu Xiaodao was angry. "A few days ago. You didn't think of this yourself. If I told you, you would have turned around and told mother." Wu Qiao stared at his sister. He knew her personality too well. Wu Xiaodao pouted and didn't refute his words. She continued, "Then is father coming over soon? Will he not be able to put aside his matters and come over?" "He won't," Wu Xiaodao said with certainty. "What did you tell father?" After mother came to the Divine Realm, many wild bees and butterflies appeared around her. A few of them were not bad. "Didn't you want to go shopping? Let's go." After Wu Qiao finished speaking, he walked out. Wu Xiaodao thought about what he said and happily chased after him. "That's a good idea." "Yes. But since you're doing this behind my back, you'll have to accompany me for a while." "All right." "Xiao Yao Yao, you have such a cold personality. Can you find a wife in the future?" Sima Yue was in the room. When she saw the two little guys leave, she wasn't that worried. However, she still let Chanjiu follow them. Ever since she left Dear God Mountain, she knew that many people were searching for her whereabouts. These people wanted to take advantage of Little Seven, but it was still a small matter, so she didn't care. What she cared about was the other group of people walking in the God's domain, the people from the four palaces. On the way to Liao City, she noticed that almost every city had people from the four palaces: Taotai Palace, Qiongqi Palace, Primal Chaos Palace, and Nightmare Palace. Moreover, they didn't hide their movements from the world, so everyone knew what the four palaces were up to. For them to move out together was something that hadn't happened in tens of thousands of years. For a moment, everyone was anxious. Many people guessed that something big was going to happen in the God's domain. Sima Yue knew what they were looking for. The divine bird Vermilion Bird's aura had appeared. Others might not have noticed it, but the four old monsters would definitely sense it. The four ferocious beasts and the four divine beasts were old enemies. Last time, they used some unknown method to defeat the four divine beasts and allowed them to rule the God's domain. They all thought that the Vermilion Bird was dead. They didn't expect it to return after so many years. She sat by the window and watched the people coming and going below, until a few people appeared silently in the room. Seeing that she wasn't surprised, they raised their eyebrows. "You were waiting for us?" "Master Jun, I've long heard of your name." Sima Yue stood up and bowed. "You knew we were coming?" The man in the lead was Fushi's second master, the divinator Jun Bai. Jun Bai's aura was different from Yin Lin, Hong Yuan and Xiao Tong. He didn't have an unfathomable look. His chubby body and smiling face looked very down to earth. Junbai looked at her with a smile and sized her up. Little girl, I've finally met you. Sima Yue smiled. Is Fushi doing well? He's in seclusion, going through the final awakening and inheritance. Before you came. Junbai said. When he comes out, he won't be that little guy anymore. When he comes out, the divine dragon will return and the 4 seas will submit to him. The 4 palaces will let him complete it smoothly? Sima Yue didn't expect Fushi to be at the most critical moment. They were so nervous about Qi Yan. If Fushi came, they wouldn't sit still. The 4 palaces naturally won't. But aren't you helping? Junbai said. Sima Yue was stunned for a moment, then understood. That day, the 4 great beasts sensed Qi Yan's aura and disappeared in an instant. They naturally sent more people to track him down. This way, Fushi's side would have an easier time. That day, I just wanted to alert the enemy. I didn't expect it to be so effective. She smiled. But this is good. Your situation isn't optimistic. Junbai found a seat and sat down, as if he was familiar with them. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. This person wanted to find trouble for her the moment he appeared? Don't look at me like that. Junbai said as he took out 2 walnuts and started cracking them. He really looked like Fushi in the past. The people he brought didn't react at all. They were probably used to it. Junbai cracked open a walnut and said as he picked out the pulp. Originally, I didn't want to tell you all this when you came, but you don't have the time now and are too weak. If those guys catch hold of you and destroy you one by one, you won't have a chance to turn things around. These years, the 4 palaces have become more and more powerful. Previously, there were still some righteous forces, such as the Jiuyo clan and the Canaan family. Unfortunately, they're all gone now. So if you want to completely defeat the 4 great beasts, you still need the 4 great divine beasts to gather. It seems like you want me to find the other 2 divine beasts? Sima Yue immediately guessed his purpose. Junbai gave her a look that said, You're so smart. There's a connection between the 4 great divine beasts, and can deduce the location of the other 2. So you really need to do this. Then why didn't you use Fushi to find them before? Sima Yue asked. Chapter 2267. Junbai sighed. That sigh was filled with sorrow. Back then, Fushi was in a critical situation and almost didn't make it in time. Fortunately, they were still luckier. Feeling emotional, Junbai's tone became heavier. Fushi hasn't completed his final awakening, so he can't be considered a true divine dragon. The divination can't be very accurate. Even when I went to find you last time, it was because you had interacted with Yuan Xiaojia. It's possible to wait for him to come out this time, but you don't have that much time. Moreover, among the 4 divine beasts, the vermilion bird is the leader. He has an extraordinary relationship with the other 3. With his aura, the divination will naturally be accurate. I see. Sima Yue nodded. So, you've divined the whereabouts of the other 2 divine beasts? If I had, I wouldn't have to make this trip. Junbai shook his head. When I do the divination, I need the vermilion bird to be present. Oh. Sima Yue understood. But not now. Once Qi Yan came out, the 4 divine beasts would be able to sense his aura. If she called Qi Yan out now, she would have to leave this place in the shortest time possible. She hadn't returned to the Chan family yet, and didn't know the situation there. She didn't know if she could leave early, so she had to wait. Okay. Junbai's small hammer paused. You'll have one more person when the time comes, so it'll be safer. Sima Yue didn't ask him who the extra person was, but from the looks of it, he had just sensed it. Master Jun, I want to ask you something, she said. Go ahead. Junbai answered casually, not even raising his head. Asking a divination operator like him wasn't an ordinary question. Do you know about the Dark Dragon Guard? Sima Yue asked. Junbai's small hammer suddenly couldn't hit anymore. He hesitated for a moment, then kept the walnuts. Clapping his hands, he said, Let me do a divination for you. Sima Yue was a little surprised. She only wanted to ask about the Dark Dragon Guard to see if he knew about that dark thing. Why did he suddenly want to do a divination for her? Junbai didn't say much. He took out a fortune-telling tool and began to calculate. Sima Yue did not disturb him and sat down beside him. Junbai looked at the divination and frowned. He raised his head and glanced at Sima Yue. He seemed to hesitate for a moment, but also seemed to have made a decision. He pointed at the tea table and said, "Extend your hand here." This was the first time he had seen a fortune-telling that required the hands of the person involved. Sima Yue muttered under her breath, but she still obediently let go of his hand. She originally thought that he was deliberately mystifying her, but when she put her hand in, she felt a guiding force lingering around her hand. She stared at her hands curiously. Pfff. Junbai spat out a mouthful of blood, scaring those people into hurriedly running over. They took out a pill and fed it to him. Sima Yue didn't expect Junbai to vomit blood so quickly. Seeing that he was much better after taking the pill, she said guiltily, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it would be so serious." Junbai didn't say anything. He just looked straight at her with a complicated expression. Sima Yue saw him like this and her heart skipped a beat. She said, "What's wrong? Could it be that I can't find black tortoise and white tiger?" "No." Junbai coughed. "The Dark Dragon Guard does have some history with you, but this time you can go without worry. He doesn't have the time to deal with you now. They will help you delay." She didn't know who they were, but she knew that if he said this, he must be confident. There was no other reason. Once she was found by Xian Qiuhe, the matter of finding white tiger and black tortoise would be ruined. Junbai and those people wouldn't let this happen. "We don't have anything to do these days. We'll just wait for you here." After Junbai finished speaking, the people behind him went to find the shopkeeper and asked for a small independent courtyard. After Sima Yue left, the people behind Junbai asked, "Master, are you all right?" "It's quite serious." Junbai sat down with the help of a chair and touched his chest, looking as if he was very hurt. "Master, why do we have to stay?" another person asked. They didn't plan to stay and follow her. This was a decision he just made. "I'm already injured. Of course I have to stay and recuperate." Junbai snorted. "Give the order. Let them delay the Dark Dragon Guard. No matter what price they have to pay, before the 4 great divine beasts return. They must not let the Dark Dragon Guard find trouble with her." "Yes, master." The two of them left, leaving Junbai alone. He sighed deeply and muttered, "This world is finally going to change. Little girl, this is your tribulation and also your life. After millions of years of reincarnation, it's finally going to return." Sima Yue returned to her own house. She wasn't as relaxed as she appeared to be just now. Junbai was a divine fortune teller. He vomited blood and got injured just from a divination. This meant that his divination wasn't an ordinary one. He must have divined some heavenly secret. Heavenly secret related to her. She thought of the heavenly Tao. Could it be that Xian Qiuhe's matter was related to the heavenly Tao? Although she had her guesses, she didn't ask Junbai. Even if she asked, it was useless. He wouldn't tell her. When Wu Xiaodao and Wuxia returned from outside, she brought the 2 little fellows to bid farewell to Junbai. Junbai saw the 2 little fellows and raised his eyebrows. He patted his round face and praised, "Not bad, not bad. Master Jun, let's go back to the Chan family to take a look. If there's nothing else, I'll come back to find you." Sima Yue said, "No rush. When the time is right, I'll contact you." Junbai replied, "That's good too." Sima Yue didn't know what time he was talking about. She guessed that it wouldn't be too long. "I heard from Fuxi that the principal was with you. I wonder where he is now." "Yuan Xiaojie and Feng Ruyan are at Luoya Palace. You don't have to worry," Junbai said. He thought for a while and added, "Before you return, the people around you are fine. You don't have to worry." Sima Yue's heart skipped a beat. "Before I return, they are fine. Why does this sound a little strange? All right, let's go. These old bones of mine won't delay your family's reunion." Junbai was afraid that she would ask him about something and said, "Family's reunion?" Sima Yue thought that he meant that he was going back to the Chan family. She only knew the true meaning of his words when they left the inn. Under the big tree opposite the inn, a man in a purple robe with an enchanting face watched the 3 of them come out. Sima Yue was stunned. She smiled and walked over. Why are you here? Have you settled the matters in the devil realm? Chapter 2268. Fly Swatter? Sima Yue was stunned for a moment before she reacted. It must have been the two little fellows who said it. How long can you stay? Very long. Sima Yue's smile deepened. Father, you're not going back to the devil world, right? Wu Xiaodao went up to hold Wu Lingyu's arm. The matters in the devil world have been settled. There's no need to go back. Wu Lingyu said. All these years he had been handling matters in the devil world. After the chaos, he needed to restore order. Now that those matters were back on track, he naturally did not need to stay in the devil world. Originally, he was almost done with the matters on hand, but not so early. When he received the news from Wuxia, he handed over the last few matters to Hong Yuan and rushed over without stopping. However, it seemed that he was fooled by the little fellow. That's good. We're going to the Chan family. You can come along. Sima Yue said. Okay. He nodded and glanced at Wuxia. Chanjiu brought them to the Chan family. When the Chan family heard about the lightning tribulation on Dear God Mountain, they guessed that Sima Yue had come to the divine realm. However, they did not expect her to come to the Chan family so quickly. The gatekeepers had never seen Sima Yue before, but they knew Chanjiu. They also knew that Chanjiu was ordered to protect Sima Yue. Hence, when they saw him and the people beside him, they guessed Sima Yue's identity. Young master is back, quickly informed the clan leader. I'll go. Two of the gatekeepers ran in. The others came up and bowed to Sima Yue. Greetings to young master, right emissary. Everyone get up. Sima Yue waved her hand, and everyone was pulled up by a force. Is grandmother here? The clan leader just came up 2 days ago. When she heard that young master came to the divine realm, she said that she would send someone to pick you up. Young master, please come with me. Sima Yue and the others followed that person in. Before they went far, they saw Chan Shan appear in front of them. Many people ran over, but when they saw that Chan Shan was there, they did not approach. Grandmother. Sima Yue bowed to Chan Shan. Wu Lingyu followed suit. Greetings, great-grandmother. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao bowed towards Chan Shan. Wu Xiaodao's voice was sweet. When she said that, Chan Shan's attention was on her. This must be Xiaodao and Xiao Yao Yao. They've grown so big. Come to grandmother Zeng. Wu Xiaodao obediently ran over and held Chan Shan's hand, saying coquettishly, Grandmother Zeng, Xiaodao has finally met you. Previously, Xiaodao had heard a lot of things about grandmother Zeng from his father and mother. He had always wanted to meet grandmother Zeng. Now his wish was finally fulfilled. Grandmother, have you ever thought of Xiaodao? Sima Yue and Wu Qiao's lips twitched. Why didn't they know that she wanted to have a grandmother so much? This guy was really good at coaxing people. However, Chan Shan was indeed very happy after hearing this. She patted her hand and said, Grandmother Zeng also missed you very much. I knew Grandmother Zeng would miss me. Wu Xiaodao said happily. Let's go. Grandmother Zeng will take you around the clan. Chan Shan said with a smile. Okay. We're also very curious about the Nine Nether clan. Wu Xiaodao quickly replied. You guys can come too. Chan Shan said to Sima Yue and the others. You guys came back too suddenly. The clan has to prepare and hold a welcome banquet for you guys tonight. Okay, thank you grandmother. Sima Yue said with a smile. Thus, the group went to visit the clan. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qia walked in front with Chan Shan. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu walked behind them. Chan Shan's personality was a bit cold. This was related to the fact that she had always led the Nine Nether clan. However, Wu Xiaodao was a smart guy. He knew how to make her happy. This personality, I really don't know who she takes after. Sima Yue sighed. That's good. Wu Lingyu doted on Wu Xiaodao. No matter what her personality was, he felt that it was very good. You just spoil her. Sima Yue glared at him. You say it like you don't spoil her. Wu Lingyu didn't want to take the blame alone. That's because you spoil her more. I like to spoil my daughter. Who dares to provoke her? Wu Lingyu said domineeringly. With Wu Xiaodao's identity, no one dared to casually touch her. He was willing to give her the capital to be willful. As they walked, Wuxia retreated. Chanshan called Sima Yue to the front. The father and son tacitly slowed down their pace and fell behind the three girls in front. What happened? Wu Lingyu asked. Mother is in danger. Wu Qiao told him what happened after they arrived in the divine realm. Mother didn't plan to come to the Chan family so early. I think she wanted to leave me and my sister here and do something dangerous. My sister and I are weak. If we follow her, we will be a burden and distract her. So it's best to let father come. Then you lied to me? Wu Lingyu said with a sullen face. That way you'll come faster. Wu Qiao wasn't afraid of him. Wu Lingyu raised his eyebrows. This little guy was really asking for a beating. In front, Chanshan was lecturing Sima Yue. I've already heard about the Eye of the Earth. You were too careless. You should have been more careful when you knew that everyone was crazy about the Eye of the Earth. How could you let others discover her identity? This will bring you a lot of trouble. In the future, when she walked around the divine realm, no matter what she did, there would be people eyeing her covetously. I know. I was careless this time, Sima Yue admitted. But things have already come to this. Let's take it one step at a time. Grandmother, you don't have to worry about Mother. As long as Mother is strong enough, those people won't dare to have any ideas about little Seven. Wu Xiaodao defended Sima Yue. My mother is still young. She will be very powerful in the future. You're right. In front of an absolute strong person, even if they have any ideas, they can only give up. Chanshan went along with her words. Grandmother, is the 9th Netherworld clan doing well? Sima Yue asked. It's all right. The clan is fine, Chanshan said. It's just that the clan's bloodline is getting weaker and weaker. That's why the 9th Netherworld clan's status is getting lower and lower. Is there no way to activate the clan's bloodline? Sima Yue asked. We've been looking for it, but we haven't found it yet, Chanshan said. This can't be rushed. There will be a way, Sima Yue replied. The Chan family's decline was different from the Sima family. The Sima family declined due to the weakening of external conditions. As long as they were given enough conditions, they would be able to rise again. That's why she gave them a complete fusion spiritual technique, gave them pill recipes, gave them the imperial beast art, and the method to search for spirits. She gave them contracts with ancient spiritual beasts, and gave them some connections. The Sima family developed very quickly. The Chan family was different. They inherited the 9th Netherworld bloodline. The decline was due to the weakening of the bloodline. It was an internal reason. No matter how powerful she was, she couldn't change the clan's bloodline. Chapter 2269. Since she could not help much and there were no major issues in the clan, there was no need for her to stay here. Chanshan sensed that she had something on her mind, and brought them around before handing them over to the clan members, and leaving with Sima Yue. Why did you come back so suddenly? Chanshan asked. I really can't hide anything from grandmother. I have something to ask of you this time. Sima Yue smiled. I have to leave the divine realm for a period of time, and I want to leave Xiao Dao and Xiao Yao Yao with the clan. It's rare that they have time to come out, so I'll let them stay outside for a while. When the time is up, Ming Hui will bring them to the divine realm. What are you going to do? Is it because of the vermilion bird? Yes. I'm going to look for black tortoise and white tiger. The relationship between the 4 great divine beasts and the 4 great divine beasts was not a secret in the divine realm. Now that the 4 palaces had made such a big move, it was not strange that Chanshan would guess. So she had nothing to hide. Chanshan did not say anything. After a moment of silence, he nodded. Since the 4 palaces have already noticed you, they will not allow you to develop. You will encounter many pursuers later on. Are you confident? No matter if I am confident or not, I have to do this. I have to find the other 2 divine beasts, and let the 4 great divine beasts return to their positions. Only then can we deal with the 4 great divine beasts. Sima Yue said. So I have to go this time. The world will thank you for thinking this way. Chanshan said. Ever since the 4 great divine beasts died or went missing, the divine realm had fallen under the rule of the 4 palaces. Many forces were destroyed and many people were in danger. If the 4 great divine beasts could return and overthrow the rule of the 4 great divine beasts, they would save everyone from this disaster. Sima Yue did not think so much. To be honest, she did not have any special feelings towards these people. She was doing this to take revenge for Qi Yan. Qi Yan could not defeat the 4 great divine beasts alone, so she would find the other 2 divine beasts and bring them back together. As for saving the world, it was just a matter of convenience. The 2 little fellows are protected by the people of the underworld. If they want to do anything, as long as they don't go against the 4 great divine beasts, let them do it. Let them train themselves. Sima Yu didn't want the 2 children to only know how to theorize without any practical experience. They had to walk their own path in the future. All right, Chanshan replied. When are you leaving? It should be soon. Sima Yu said. Lord Jun asked me to wait. I'm guessing that Fuxi is about to come out of seclusion, so I'm waiting for him to come with me. You've already met Junbai? Yes, before I meet him. He's still resting in the inn outside. Thinking of the divination he had done for her, she was momentarily absent-minded. I believe that you know your limits. Since you've already planned it out, I won't say anything more. Chanshan's words pulled her back to reality. When the time comes, I'll get 2 elders to go with you. Fui's grandmother will go. Fuxi and I will go alone. The smaller the number, the smaller the target. Sima Yu rejected her good intentions. Okay. Chanshan knew that she would not mess around. Since she was not willing to let people follow her, she would let her be. At night, the Chan family held a welcome banquet for them. Knowing that the young master was back, everyone was happy and they drank a lot of wine. Sima Yu drank a lot. Seeing Wu Xiaodao and the others drinking so enthusiastically, she pulled her back to rest. Wu Lingyu and Wu Qiao saw the 2 of them leave and followed them back. After settling the 2 children down, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu went back to their room. Sima Yue took a shower and went back. She saw Wu Lingyu lying on the bed with one hand supporting her head and looking at her with a smile. That posture and those lustful eyes were all seducing her. Have you talked to grandmother? Wu Lingyu asked. I'll let grandmother take care of Xiaodao and Xiaorao for me for a while. Sima Yue walked over. She had just gotten onto the bed when Wu Lingyu pulled her into his arms. When are we leaving? Someone's hand started to move. Let's see what Junbai says. Sima Yue said. He's injured. Let's go and see him tomorrow and ask him about his plans. Okay. Oh right. Why did you suddenly come? Good nights are short. Let's not talk about those things anymore. The next day, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu went to look for Junbai. They told him that they had nothing to do here and could leave anytime. They asked him when they were leaving. Junbai looked much better than yesterday. After hearing Sima Yue's words, he was silent for a while and said, There are still 2 months. You can go to a place first. I'll take you there. Junbai said. When I recover tomorrow, we'll go to Luoya Palace first. You can go back and say goodbye to your family. Okay. Sima Yue went back and told Chanshan. Chanshan didn't expect her to leave so soon. He was stunned for a moment and said, Although I knew you would leave early, I didn't expect it to be so soon. However, this matter of yours can't be delayed. The sooner, the better. You can go and talk to the 2 children. Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao weren't surprised to hear that Sima Yue was leaving. Wu Xiaodao hugged Sima Yue and rubbed against her arms, saying, Although we can't bear to part with Mother, we know that Mother has something important to do. Mother, you have to protect yourself when you go out. Xiao Yao Yao and I will be obedient. Don't worry about us. Although she knew that she was just saying that, and that she would definitely be naughty and cause trouble later, Yue was still happy. The 2 children were so considerate. I will take good care of sister, Wu Qiao said. Sima Yue stroked Wu Qiao's head and said, With you around, I can rest assured that the 2 of you will stay here. When I'm done, I'll come back to pick you up. We'll wait for you and father to come back. Wu Qiao smiled and nodded. His hands behind his back were tightly clenched into fists. Their mother was going to do something important. How could they be a burden to her? They had to act calmly so that mother wouldn't worry about them. Sima Yue saw that the two siblings were forcing a smile. Although her heart ached, she had to leave. The next day, Wu Xiaodao and Wu Qiao sent Sima Yue out of the Chan family's gate. Seeing Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu leave, Wu Xiaodao bit her lips to prevent herself from crying. Wu Qiao's eyes were also red. Seeing that Wu Xiaodao was trembling, he reached out and hugged her shoulder, saying, "Don't be sad. Mother will be back soon." When Sima Yue arrived at the inn, Junbai was already prepared. When they arrived, Junbai didn't say much. He took out the teleportation array and brought them away. Chapter 2270. When Sima Yue came out of the array, she saw a group of people guarding outside. When they saw Junbai, they bowed. "Greetings, Master Jun. Where's the old guy?" "Palace Master is discussing with the elders about the Dark Dragon Guard. He knew that you were coming back and specially ordered us to wait for you here." After that person finished speaking, he looked at Junbai suspiciously. The Fallen Cliff Palace had never interacted with the Dark Dragon Guard before. The Dark Dragon Guard had pledged allegiance to the Taotai Palace, while the Fallen Cliff Palace was righteous. Both sides were on opposing sides, but they never had any conflicts. Now that they were suddenly discussing how to deal with the Dark Dragon Guard, and it was Master Jun's orders, they were all very suspicious. "We can go by ourselves." Junbai brought Sima Yue and the others away after speaking. Who were these two? Master Jun actually brought them over himself. Everyone was curious about Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu's identities, but nobody asked around. Sima Yulin was stunned when he saw Sima Yue on the way, but Sima Yue stopped to greet him first. "Yulin." Sima Yue exchanged a few words with Junbai before walking over to him, smiling. "I knew you were here, but I didn't expect to see you here." Sima Yulin saw her hair coiled up, and then looked at Wu Lingyu, who was behind her. His mouth was slightly bitter, but he still forced a smile, saying, "You're married. Belated congratulations." We got married in the human realm a few years ago," Sima Yue said. "Are you doing well here? You knew I was here?" Sima Yulin's smile deepened without leaving a trace. "I know." Sima Yue told him how Fatty Chu and the others were worried about him, and how she got Chanjiu to find out. When Sima Yulin heard the names of Fatty Chu and the others, his heart was filled with emotions. He asked, "Are they doing well?" "They're all good. I think they'll join us soon," Sima Yue said. "They were just saying that they shouldn't fall behind you." "It's good if you can come up," Sima Yulin replied. The divine domain was much better than the lower realms. Water flowed downwards, and people walked upwards. It was good to be able to come up. The two of them continued to chat for a bit. Sima Yulin looked at Junbai, who was waiting at the back. After thinking about it, he still asked the question in his heart. "Why have you come to Fallen Cliff Palace?" "Master Jun brought me here. He didn't say anything before this," Sima Yue replied. Hearing Junbai's coughing, she knew that he was rushing her. "Since Master Jun has brought you here, there must be something going on. You can go ahead and get busy," Sima Yulin said. "Okay, let's catch up when we're free," Sima Yue said and left with Wu Lingyu. Junbai wasn't curious as to how she knew people from Fallen Cliff Palace. When they returned, he brought her to one of the palaces in Fallen Cliff Palace. The Lord of Fallen Cliff Palace had already received the news, so he got someone to bring them to the discussion hall. "Why are you here?" The Fallen Cliff Palace master looked serious all the time. His unsmiling face made people not dare to do anything in front of him. She wondered how he had managed to cultivate Fushi's personality. "I brought you here for some matters," Junbai said. Sima Yue bowed to the Lord of Fallen Cliff Palace. "You're Sima Yue." Lord Fallen Cliff Palace nodded to her. "Thank you for cheer. You're too kind, Lord," Sima Yue said lightly. "You're discussing how to deal with the Dark Dragon Guard?" Junbai asked. "Yes." When it came to serious matters, Lord Fallen Cliff Palace was still a little confused. "Why are you suddenly thinking about how to deal with the Dark Dragon Guard?" Junbai glanced at Sima Yue saying, "I'll explain this to you when we get back." I brought her here today to go to that place. Sima Yue could clearly feel that when he mentioned that place, everyone's bodies stiffened. Could it be that that place was not a good place? Sima Yue guessed. Lord Fallen Cliff Palace was stunned. He looked at Sima Yue with a deep gaze and nodded, saying, I'll get someone to arrange it. Very quickly, Sima Yulin came in from outside. He bowed to the people in the hall and heard Lord Fallen Cliff Palace say, Yulin, you and you are siblings. You should take her to that place. Sima Yulin already knew what they were looking for him for before he came, so he cupped his hands, saying, Yes, Lord. Sima Yue also knew that Junbai and the others had something that was inconvenient for her to listen to, so she left with Sima Yulin. Wu Lingyu naturally went wherever she went. Once they left, someone could not hold it in anymore and pulled Junbai, asking, Is he that person? Junbai nodded, saying, 2 days ago, I did a divination for him, and it was without a doubt a heavenly divination. So you're saying that we have to ensure his safety in the future. He has some grievances with the Dark Dragon Guard. When he and Shithur go to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise, we have to make sure that he has no worries. Junbai explained about the Dark Dragon Guard, but he did not say anything about Sima Yue and Xian Qiuhe. There were some things that he could calculate, but he could not say. Shir is about to come out of seclusion, right? They will come out together, then we have to send them away. We have to prepare everything before that. Junbai said. The moment he spoke, the atmosphere in the room became heavy. Junbai made it sound simple, but it was very troublesome for them to do it. The Dark Dragon Guard was under the Taotai Palace. If they touched the Dark Dragon Guard, the Taotai Palace would not sit idly by. Moreover, they knew that the Azure Dragon and Vermilion Bird had returned, so they would not watch them grow up. Therefore, there was definitely going to be a big movement. Fortunately, they had secretly made arrangements over the years, and everyone was already connected. Even if the 4 palaces moved, they would not be helpless. We've planned for this day for so long, and now it's finally coming. Qiaoxi sighed. That's right. When that day comes, these old bones of mine can also die of old age. Junbai also sighed. The day when the heavenly Tao changed was not far away, but he could not wait to see that flourishing age with his own eyes. Qiaoxi opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. As a diviner, Junbai should not have been involved in these disputes. He stood on the side of this world and told them many secrets of heaven, and these things were all calculated on him. Now that his body was getting worse, wasn't it because of heaven's punishment? However, they had no choice. The 4 palaces and the forces under them were very strong, and the 4 divine beasts had not returned yet. Everyone was living in an abyss of suffering. If it was not for the sake of setting things right, why would Junbai get involved in this mess? Thinking of this, everyone's mood was heavy, but Junbai was more open-minded. Someone had to make some sacrifices for these things, and he was just risking his life. Chapter 2271. Sima Yu didn't know about the heavy atmosphere in the hall. She and Wu Lingyu followed Sima Yulin and talked about the past. Not long after, they arrived at the place that Junbai had mentioned. This is the sex-forbidden area. I can't go any further. Palace Master said that you can go in, so only you can go in. Sima Yulin glanced at Wu Lingyu after speaking. This is the forbidden area of the Fallen Cliff Palace. Why do I have to go in? Sima Yu didn't understand. I don't know about this either. Sima Yulin was very surprised when he heard about this. But since it was an order from above, he couldn't ask why. He was afraid that Sima Yu would be afraid and said, I heard that there was nothing in the forbidden area. It was just a cemetery. Sima Yu's heart skipped a beat when she heard about the cemetery. Could it be Emperor Qingdao's tomb? Junbai brought him here just to absorb the energy here? She looked at the map in her sea of consciousness. Although there was no Fallen Cliff Palace, the mountain was right. It seemed that the Fallen Cliff Palace knew about Emperor Qingdao's tomb long ago. They also knew from Junbai that this tomb was not fated with them. They had to wait for her, the fated person, to come. This was the only way to explain their actions. What surprised her was that Emperor Qingdao's tomb was in the Fallen Cliff Palace. She was going to meet him again so soon. She just didn't know if Xianqiu he knew about this. But it didn't matter if he knew. Besides this place, there was another place. As long as she didn't absorb the other place, he wouldn't look for her for the time being. After thinking it through, she turned around and said to Wu Lingyu, "Wait for me outside." Wu Lingyu guessed it too. Since she was going to absorb Emperor Qingdao's power, he would wait for her here. Sima Yuyu entered the forbidden area alone. She entered the tomb with familiarity, and began to absorb the power left behind by Emperor Qingdao. Xianqiu he felt it when she started to absorb Emperor Qingdao's power. He sat on the throne high up. His clothes were red like blood. "So fast, I thought you would drag it out for a while." Sima Yue stayed in the forbidden grounds for a few months. Because she was in seclusion, it was like a matter of closing her eyes and opening her eyes. When she came out of seclusion, Fuxi also came out of seclusion. He didn't know how Junbai and the others had done it for him. In short, the four palaces didn't seem to have received any news, nor did they sense anything. Fuxi was very happy to see Sima Yue. He rushed to her and said, "Yue, you've finally come to the Divine Dominion. Why didn't you tell me in advance?" Sima Yue smiled at him and said, "When I came, I heard that you were in seclusion. Even if I told you in advance, you wouldn't know. You can't possibly postpone your business just to wait for me, right?" Even if he wanted to, his group of masters would not agree. "In any case, we're going to find Black Tortoise and White Tiger later. We'll have plenty of time to catch up," Fuxi said with a smile. "That's right." Sima Yue didn't tell him that their future path would be difficult, and she didn't know if he could think of it himself. In a while, when calculating Black Tortoise and White Tiger, Qi Yan would be present. When Vermilion Bird's aura came out, it would naturally attract the attention of the four beasts. If they didn't immediately find trouble with the fallen cliff palace, they could only let Qi Yan leave the Divine Dominion in front of everyone. But he was Vermilion Bird. If he left now, there would only be one thing, and that was to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise. If the four palaces knew about this, how could they let it go? They would definitely send people to stop it. Perhaps they would also use their hands to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise to get rid of them. So their journey would not be peaceful. She sighed in her heart, but Fuxi wasn't worried at all. He continued to ask, "Who did you see after coming up? Did you see Kanan Xian and Mu Yechi?" "I only saw Kanan Xian. I didn't have time to see the others." As soon as Sima Yue finished speaking, she heard two familiar voices. As soon as she turned around, she saw two people coming towards her. Aunt Feng. When Sima Yue saw Feng Ruyan, she excitedly walked over. She even bowed to Yuan Xiaojia, martial uncle. "I knew you were in the sect, so I came over." Feng Ruyan still looked like she didn't eat the food of mortals, but the smile on her face showed that she was in a good mood. "Before I came to the Divine Dominion, I went to the Feng people to take a look. I knew you were in the Divine Dominion, so I wanted to come up and find you. I didn't expect to see you so soon." Sima Yue held Feng Ruyan's hand and said intimately. Because Feng Ruyan had always taken care of Yue when she was growing up, she had a kind of attachment to Feng Ruyan as an elder. Doing this action wasn't strange at all. When Feng Ruyan and Yuan Xiaojia saw her current strength, they sighed in their hearts. Both of them didn't think that Sima Yue would grow to such a height in such a short period of time. She even had such a mission. Sima Yue then told Yuan Xiaojia about the Heavenly Heaven School's current situation. Everyone didn't have any anger towards this principal, who didn't do anything. Yuan Xiaojia was smiling happily. He didn't feel guilty about his actions at all. After talking for a while, Sima Yue saw someone looking for them. She recognized that it was the person who followed Junbai that day. Knowing that he was here to look for them, she didn't say much to Feng Ruyan and the rest. She placed a jade bottle in Feng Ruyan's hand and said, "That day, my grandfather drank this to advance to the Emperor realm in the Ghost realm." Feng Ruyan's hand that was holding the jade bottle tightened. Back then, she used other methods to advance to the Emperor realm. However, she wasn't recognized by the Heavenly Tao, so her strength was weaker than those who advanced to the Emperor realm. Sima Yue gave her this. Was it to help her complete the Heavenly Tao? But before she could ask, Sima Yue and Fuxi left with that person. Since the Ghost King can use this to advance in the ghost realm, it must be something good for you, Yuan Xiaojie said. I know. Feng Ruyan kept the jade bottle and looked in the direction she left, saying, I knew she was a good child back then. After so many years, she's still thinking about me. She's always been a good child. Yuan Xiaojie sighed. Sima Yue and Fuxi went to meet Junbai and Zhao Shi. Wu Lingyu was there too. The three of them were discussing something. Junbai saw her enter and frowned slightly. Why haven't you advanced to the Emperor realm? She should be able to advance to the Emperor realm after absorbing Emperor Qingdao's power. Why did it seem like she was still lacking? I've suppressed it. Sima Yue didn't ask Junbai how he knew she was going to advance. You know that my advancement will cause a huge commotion. There will be flies and mosquitoes behind me. It's good to use the lightning tribulation to clean them up. Most importantly, the lightning tribulation would harm her body. Naturally, she wouldn't be able to find White Tiger and Black Tortoise immediately. They were pressed for time now. Advancing wasn't as important as before. Anyway, the power was suppressed in her body. When she would advance was up to her. Chapter 2272. No one agreed or disagreed with Sima Yue's thoughts. Anyway, she had her own opinions, and Junbai was just asking. Sima Yue knew why Junbai was so surprised. Her strength could have advanced to the Imperial Emperor level last time, but because she had been suppressing it and her realm was not enough, she was not in a hurry to advance. Junbai must have seen this, so he thought that she would definitely advance after absorbing Emperor Qingdao's power. He did not expect that she would still not advance. Just as she said, she could advance at any time, but she did not want to delay things here because of her lightning tribulation. It was good that she could cheat others later. Shall we start now? She asked Junbai. Let's start. Junbai nodded. Sima Yue called Qi Yin out, and Junbai began to calculate. Halfway through, he asked Qi Yin to input his aura into the divination. Soon, Junbai spat out another mouthful of blood. Sima Yue saw this scene and thought of the divination she did for herself. It was the same at that time, and he also spat out blood. Now it was related to the 4 divine beasts, and it also had the name of setting things right. Naturally, it was a big matter. Could it be that the previous divination wasn't only about her? Junbai finished after a while. He did not even have time to look at the last divination before Fuxi gave him a pill. After eating the pill, Junbai's face became much better, but he was still as pale as paper. He leaned against the chair, obviously using up all his strength just now. Look at the divination yourself, he said weakly. The injury from Sima Yue's divination was still there, and now it happened again. His body was almost drained dry. Fuxi's heart ached. He let him rest and went to look at the divination. After a while, Fuxi put away the divination item. Second Master, it's done. Fuxi looked at Junbai's almost broken body, and his heart ached, but he had to say, Second Master, the 4 palaces must have received the news that the vermilion bird is out. We have to leave now. Your body. Junbai forced a smile. Don't worry about me, I won't die for the time being. Don't worry and go. When you come back, my body will be fine. Master, I will come back as soon as possible. Fuxi replied and then said to Sima Yue, let's go. Wait. Sima Yue came to Junbai and reluctantly took out a box, saying, a divinator friend of mine asked me to find this. There were still some left at that time. I hope it will be of help to you. Fuxi took it and opened the box. When he saw the things inside, he couldn't help but get excited. Where did you find them? An ancient battlefield in the immortal realm. Sima Yue said, my friend said that this is very good for divinator's health. I wonder if it will be useful for Master Jun. It's useful. We've already sent people to look for tears of love, but there's been no news. Fuxi was extremely agitated. And you don't just have 1 or 2. Master's body can be saved now. Junbai also didn't expect that Sima Yue would give him tears of love. This was indeed better than anything else for his current body. Previously, he was still worried that his broken body wouldn't be able to hold on until the final victory. Now that he had this, he didn't have to worry anymore. Sima Yue thought for a while and took out 2 jade bottles, saying, Master Jun's body is very important to the divine realm, and even the entire world. So you must take care of your body. With the tears of love before, Fuxi and Junbai didn't think that the things she took out were light. However, when they saw the tree of life's essence and the tree of spirit's essence in the 2 jade bottles, they were still stunned. These 3 things could only be encountered and not sought. Moreover, they were extremely good for divinator. If he could get better with the first item, then with the other 2 he could live longer. Yue, thank you. A single thank you couldn't express the gratitude in their hearts. We're leaving soon. We can't see you worrying about the things here. Moreover, if Master Jun didn't do that divination for me, I wouldn't be injured so badly now. Master Jun has chosen his side for the sake of the world. The only thing we can do is to give you these things. Sima Yue said. Let's leave early. If we attract people, we'll cause trouble for Luoya Palace again. Although they knew that Fuxi was from Luoya Palace, leaving from here was still different from leaving from outside. Fuxi also understood the current situation. Since he now had Sima Yue use 3 items, he naturally didn't have to worry about his master's health. As such, he left Fallen Cliff Palace with Sima Yue and the others and appeared at a place where he didn't know the name of. Say, how long do you think those people will take to come? Fuxi asked with a grin. Sima Yue saw that his aura was the same as before and knew that he had concealed his green dragon aura. However, there wasn't much difference between this and the past. Where are Black Tortoise and White Tiger? Sima Yue remembered that Junbai didn't tell her the results of the divination, and only showed it to Fuxi. Fuxi didn't say anything after seeing it, so she still didn't know where to go. Black Tortoise has already returned. We just need to go to Tsangming Continent to find him. White Tiger still needs us to go to Wanyan Continent to add fuel to the fire. Fuxi said. Can we find them if we go there? If they already knew where Black Tortoise and White Tiger were, it would be easier to find them. That depends on luck. It might be early or late. However, the final result will definitely be good. Fuxi said. Oh right, I have to remind you. After we go down, our strength will be restricted. When the time comes, it might be a little difficult for you to become an emperor. After going to a lower realm, their strength would be restricted to the highest level of that realm. If they went against the heavenly Tao and used power that they shouldn't use, they would be punished by the heavenly Tao. Moreover, one couldn't become an emperor in the lower realms. The heavenly Tao didn't allow it. Thus, she couldn't advance whenever she wanted. However, Sima Yue didn't care about this point. Or rather, this point didn't have any binding force on her. If it was said that the Ghost King's advancement had something to do with the Primal Chaos River, it was only her guess. When she reached this level, she was already certain of this reason. She didn't know if it was because her soul had been to the Primal Chaos world, or because she had been drinking the Primal Chaos River, but she didn't feel the suppression of the heavenly Tao. 2 years ago, when she was walking in the lower realms, she felt this way. As long as she wanted to, she could do it at any time. Chapter 2273. No matter what she thought in her heart, Sima Yue did not say it out loud. She nodded to Fuxi and said, Got it. Those people should be here soon. Let's get ready to go. Sima Yue said. You don't know how to get to Tsangming Continent. Let me do it. Fuxi said as he raised his right hand and water blue power gathered in his palm. When the power was almost condensed, he hit the air. Slowly, a space channel appeared in the air. Whoosh. A force came from the space behind, trying to destroy Fuxi's space channel. However, when it was about to approach, it was resolved by Wu Lingyu with a wave of his hand. The person who came was shocked. He was already an imperial emperor, but this person could still dissolve his power so easily. Could it be that he had already reached the peak of the imperial emperor realm? However, Wu Lingyu just stood there and did not show his strength. No one could see his strength. A group of people came out of the space. Sima Yue saw the symbol on their clothes and knew that they were the closest people from the palace. She said to Fuxi, You continue. Leave these people to us. However, she did not move because she received Qi Yan's order to leave these people to him. Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yue did not move, so he did not move either. Qi Yan transformed into his original form. The fiery red vermilion bird was noble and majestic, inviolable. He looked at the people from the palace, and seemed to see the vermilion bird behind them. Vermilion bird, you really came back. The leader obviously had some status in the palace, and knew about the 4 mythological beasts and the 4 murderers. I'm back. It's time for you to die, Qi Yan said and flapped his wings to attack them. Crimson Flame used the most primitive method. His 2 claws were sharp, and anyone who was caught by him was torn in half by him. With a wave of his long wings, a person vomited blood. These people were all experts. If it was not for his powerful body, how could he use the most primitive method? The most primitive method also depended on absolute strength. Sima Yue also noticed that Qi Yan's body was surrounded by a layer of faint red light, and the power that was attacking him was silently blocked. On the other side, little birdie was also very happy. They couldn't withstand its heat anyway, and those who were targeted by it were all burned to ashes. By the time those people were dealt with, Fuxi had completely opened up the passage. Sima Yue glanced at the corpse on the ground and said, "Let's go. The sooner we find the black tortoise and the white tiger, the sooner we can return." The group of people left through the spatial tunnel. When the tunnel closed completely, a dead person opened his eyes. His stomach was slashed open, and one of his arms was broken. The man swallowed the pill with great difficulty and rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, he had the ability to play dead, so no one discovered that he was still alive. Otherwise, he would have died today. Not long after, more people rushed over. When they saw the ground littered with corpses and sensed the residual vermilion bird aura in the air, their expressions all changed. There's a survivor. The man who played dead was discovered. A group of people flew over and asked, "Where's Vermilion Bird?" Vermilion Bird and Azure Dragon left the Divine Realm to find Black Tortoise and White Tiger. The man said weakly, "But I don't know which realm they went to." After he finished speaking, someone immediately flew into the air, and the position was exactly where Fuxi had opened the spatial tunnel. He closed his eyes and felt the weak vibrations from the space. His 10 fingers fluttered, and circles of ripples swayed from between his fingers. Not far away, they slowly converged to form a tunnel entrance. After a while, he opened his eyes and stared at the formed entrance for a long time. After getting the answer, he waved his hand and the tunnel entrance disappeared. It turned out that it was not a real entrance but a fake one. "Master, did you find out where they went?" Someone asked. "I calculated the approximate location. Those few realms could be it." The man replied, "Let's return to the palace first. I have to discuss with the palace master and the divine beast." Yes. 2 people went to carry the living man on the ground. The others went to burn the corpses on the ground. Then the group opened the spatial tunnel and left. Soon, the people of the 4 palaces knew that Vermilion Bird and Azure Dragon had left the Divine Realm to find Black Tortoise and White Tiger. The people of the Dark Palace gave a range of more than 10 realms. Thus, the main forces of the 4 palaces were transferred to those 10 or so small realms. One of them was Tsangming Continent. In a snowfield in Tsangming Continent, Sima Yue and the others came out of the spatial tunnel. Sima Yue felt the spiritual energy in the air and said, "Although Tsangming Continent is just a lower realm, the spiritual energy here is not bad. It seems that Black Tortoise is quite good at choosing a place," Fuxi said with a smile. "I wonder where that guy is now." "You said that Black Tortoise has returned. I think he should have recovered by now. Since that's the case, why didn't he go to the Divine Realm?" "I don't know about that," Fuxi said. "But this guy's temperament is always slow. Even if he has returned, he will slowly grind it down. Then we can only go and find him." Sima Yue also guessed Black Tortoise's temperament, and could not help but find it funny. "We have to hurry. The people of the 4 palaces are not useless. We deliberately left one alive. I think they already know our approximate location. We have to find Black Tortoise before they chase us here," Fuxi said with some helplessness. He had the blood of a dragon in his body. Now that the blood was fully activated, He inherited all of Azure Dragon's power, as well as his memories and feelings. Speaking of Black Tortoise, he naturally brought in Azure Dragon's feelings. No matter who its contractor is, it can't be far from the sea. Let's go find the sea of this continent first. Qi Yan also knew Black Tortoise very well, especially its habit of staying in the sea even though it could live anywhere. Since that was the case, it was most likely in the sea. They flew in the vast snowfield for a long time. From time to time, they would encounter some spirit beasts. They did not need to move. They just released their aura and the spirit beasts would avoid them. They went to find a spirit beast to ask about the sea. However, they found out that there was no sea nearby. The spirit beasts here did not have much contact with the outside world. They did not know if there were any further places. These spirit beasts seem to be very powerful. They are considered the top existences in the continent below. I think the people here would not dare to come in casually. Since there are few people here, there is naturally not much information exchange with the outside world. When we get out of here, we will find someone to ask. They were not in a hurry. They sent the spirit beasts out and flew out. They did not expect the snowfield to be so big. They flew for more than 10 days before they saw a figure. Chapter 2274. In the snow, a woman in a white dress was running for her life. However, most of her white dress was dyed red, making her look like a blooming datura flower in the snow. A group of people chased after her, spitting out some unpleasant words. They said that she should obediently follow them back to be their 18th daughter-in-law, and that when the time came, a group of people would come and so on. The woman's face was full of resentment. After being surrounded, she looked at those people and wished she could kill them all. Unfortunately, she was injured and was no match for those people. Thinking of these people's hands touching her body, she couldn't help but feel disgusted. Little girl, you should just obediently follow us. What's wrong with following us? We will give you a wonderful experience. The person who spoke had his eyes glued to the woman's body. He wished he could immediately take off all her clothes. Pay. Even if I die, I won't follow you. The woman spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing that there was no hope of escaping, she thought that she could only die today. Little girl, even if you die, your corpse can let us have some fun. However, you won't be able to experience it. It's not worth it. Another person laughed evilly. No matter what she did, they would be able to have a good time. They wouldn't even let her corpse go? When the woman heard this, the way she looked at these people changed. You didn't accidentally meet me. You have a conspiracy. Who sent you here? Mao Hongxia, it's her, right? Little girl, it doesn't matter if someone sent us or not. You have no choice but to follow us today. Dream on. Since I can't commit suicide and leave my corpse for you, then I'll drag you down with me. If there is a next life, I will definitely take revenge for today. The woman steeled her heart and circulated the spiritual power in her body. Her body slowly expanded. Those people didn't expect that she would actually self-destruct. They were shocked and ran in all directions. However, after running a few steps, they found that they couldn't run anymore. The space was sealed. Then, someone found that the woman's rapidly expanding body slowly collapsed. The self-destruction actually stopped. Who could self-destruct and stop on their own? Not only were those men surprised, even the woman herself was surprised. She was trying her best to drag these people down with her. She didn't even think of stopping. When they saw the woman's expression, they knew that she didn't stop on her own. They immediately became vigilant and shouted, "Who dares to ruin your grandfather's business?" Pa. A slap landed on the face of the person who spoke. At the same time, a casual and lazy female voice sounded from all directions. "You dare to call yourself grandfather?" That slap was very skillful. That person was not sent flying, but his face was swollen. The teeth on that side of his face were also knocked out. He spat out a mouthful of blood and teeth. "Ooh, come out if you have the guts." Another person called out bravely, "Pa." Another slap. This person was also beaten until his teeth were missing. What's the point of wasting time on these rascals? After Qi Yan finished speaking, he appeared in the air. As soon as he appeared, Everyone's gaze shifted to him. Only then did they realize that those people had actually been there from the beginning to the end. It was just that they had not noticed it. Thinking of this, everyone was even more shocked. What kind of strength did he have to be able to hide his aura so well? Little birdie flew out from its body, and those people didn't even have time to scream before they all disappeared. In just a short while, only that woman was left on the snowy ground. That woman looked at Sima Yue and the other 3 people falling from the sky. Only then did she realize that she had really been saved. Her injuries were not light, but she still struggled to get up from the ground. She bowed to Sima Yue and the others and said, "Thank you for saving my life. Your injuries are not light. Take a pill first." Sima Yue admired this person's character. She was fierce and decisive. This was also the reason why she helped. Looking at this woman's clothes and temperament, her status should not be low. The pill that injured her should not be low either. Who knew that after Sima Yue finished speaking, the woman did not move. She only smiled faintly and said that it was fine. Her injuries would be fine after a while. The injuries caused by self-explosion were not small. Sima Yue understood that she probably did not have any more pills on her. She took out a jade bottle and gave it to her, saying, "Use this first." The woman opened the jade bottle and was shocked when she saw the pill inside. She wanted to say that she could not accept such an expensive pill, but after seeing Sima Yue's eyes, she swallowed her words. She took out the pill and ate it before thanking her again. How many pills that Sima Yue had on her now were ordinary pills. She did not expect this woman to be able to recognize it after being stunned for a while. It seemed that her status was not low. Self-explosion would hurt the meridians. Sima Yue's pill was very effective for these injuries. Her body that was in pain earlier felt much better now. "What is your name?" Sima Yue asked. "I am Wenxi," the woman replied. "May I know my benefactor's name? If there is a chance in the future, Wenxi will definitely repay you. You can just call me Yue." Sima Yue turned her head and saw that the 3 fellows were just sitting there and did not seem to have any intention of talking to Wenxi. She turned her head and smiled at Wenxi, saying, "They are my husband, my contracted beasts and my friends." Wenxi knew what they meant when she saw their attitude. She also understood that they were not willing to talk to her. She did not feel awkward and only smiled at Sima Yue. "Oh right, I want to ask you something," Sima Yue said. When she saw that she was looking at her seriously and subconsciously became serious as well, saying, "Benefactor, please ask. Do you have a sea here?" When she thought that Sima Yue would ask about something important, and did not expect her to ask such a question. She was stunned for a moment before replying, "This is Wangchuan Snowfield. There is no sea here." "No sea? Songming continent is so big but there is no sea." Sima Yue frowned slightly. Could it be that Black Tortoise could endure a place without a sea? Even if it was injured in the past, would it be able to endure a day without a sea after it recovered? When she heard her words, she was sure that she was not from this continent. She explained, "So you are asking if there is a sea in this continent?" "I misunderstood. There is a sea in Songming continent, but it is very far from here. There is also a natural barrier in the middle, so the people and spirit beasts here do not know about it." "Then how do you know?" Sima Yue asked. She was curious about the natural barrier. "I am originally from there. I came here because of some reasons." When she replied, "I have already completed my task. If you want to go there, why don't you let me lead the way?" Chapter 2275. Sima Yue turned around to look at Wu Lingyu and the other 2. They did not comment on Wenxi's words, as if they were waiting for her to make the decision. That natural barrier can't be seen with the naked eye. If you're not familiar with it, you won't be able to find it. Wenxi said, "If you want to go by yourselves, even if I tell you the location, you'll still need some time to find it. If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble you." Sima Yue smiled at her. "Actually, I also hope to go with you guys and borrow your strength to go back." When she knew that she could not hide her intentions from Yue, so she decided to be frank and say it out loud. "I know. It's on the way anyway. If it could save them a lot of time, it was fine to bring her along. Then let's go. Wuxia said. Let's wait until your injuries are better before we continue. These 2 days don't matter. Sima Yue knew how serious her injuries were. It would take twice the effort to bring an injured person along. She could also use these 2 days to do something. When she was a little happy, although she felt that she could hold on, it would be better to rest for 2 days. Hence, she was even more grateful to Sima Yue. Do you know the distance from the barrier to here? Sima Yue asked. I know. Wuxia nodded. Are you going to set up an array? Yes. Since you said that it's very far from here, we'll naturally need to use an array. Sima Yue asked about the direction and distance of the barrier, then said, Go and rest first. I'll call you when I need you later. Okay. When she did not decline, she took out a bed and placed it on the snow. Then she sat on it and started to heal her injuries. Sima Yue started to set up the array. As it was a long-distance teleportation array, and they had quite a number of people, she set it up very carefully for safety. When she was done, when she woke up. You're recovering well. Sima Yue saw that her injuries were much better. She knew that other than the pills she gave her, there were other reasons. I learned a technique that's very useful for healing injuries. When she did not hide it, she had a feeling that her little secrets were no secrets in front of Sima Yue. Moreover, she wouldn't value these secrets of hers. As expected, Sima Yue did not ask her anything. Instead, she said, The array is ready. Let's go. The group of people arrived at the teleportation array. Sima Yue activated the teleportation array by injecting her spiritual power into it. When she then noticed how big the teleportation array was, this level of skill and strength was not something an ordinary person could achieve. However, before she could think about it any further, they had already disappeared from the array. Before she left, she only had one thought. What a waste. There were so many array stones, and they were all gone after one use. How rich and overbearing. A few days later, in an inconspicuous small town, some people were holding a wedding banquet. Suddenly, a vibration came from a wine table. Those people quickly left the table and stared at the table vigilantly. Not long after, a spatial passageway was opened. The few of them came out of the array and landed on the table. Luckily, the vibration just now caused the table to tilt. Everything on the table fell to the ground. Otherwise, they would have stepped into the dishes. Sima Yue looked at the place where they appeared. She saw the courtyard full of people staring at her. She could not help but twitch her lips. The location of the exit was too deceptive. A few people walked over from the other side of the courtyard. When they saw Sima Yue and the others' imposing manner, they did not rush forward to scold them. Sorry, we didn't expect the exit of the teleportation array to be here. Sima Yue said. When the few people heard this, they respected Sima Yue even more. To be able to set up a teleportation array, these people's identities were definitely not ordinary. It's all right. It's just a banquet. Bring the guests to another table and squeeze with them. The leader instructed the people beside him. At first, the guests thought that Yue and the others were here to cause trouble. Now that they knew that they were just passing by and there was no conflict, they felt relieved and continued to eat and drink. Sima Yue took out a box and passed it to that person, saying, I don't know what good news you have. Take this as a congratulatory gift and also an apology gift. How can I accept this? That person declined for a while but still accepted it in the end. Elder, we would like to ask, how far is this place from the east and west barriers? Wuxia asked. If we use the teleportation array to go to the city, it will take half a month. Thank you. Wuxia was shocked but did not show it on her face. After thanking that person, the group of people left. She did not expect Sima Yue's teleportation array to be able to transport almost 4/5 of the distance. Moreover, it took less time than a normal teleportation array. How powerful must one be to be able to do this? 1 month is too long. Let's go take a look at the teleportation array. Sima Yue said, and the group of people went to the city. After they left, that person opened the box that Sima Yue gave him. When he saw the medicinal ingredient inside, he was stunned for a long time. Master, what's wrong? A person came over and was also stunned when he saw the medicinal ingredient in the box. Sima Yue did not take this small incident to heart. After they arrived at the city, they went straight to the Spirit Master Guild and spent some crystals to study the array. The people from the Spirit Master Guild did not agree at first. Sima Yue and the rest only showed a little of their power, and the people from the Spirit Master Guild immediately cleared the teleportation array and invited them over. After a while, Sima Yue managed to find out the spatial coordinates of the teleportation array. Then the group of people left the city and found a desolate place. They spent a day setting up the teleportation array. This time, they arrived at the place that one she mentioned. It was a stretch of mountain range. The layer of barrier looked similar to a spirit barrier, but it was much stronger than a spirit barrier. If you want to open this barrier with your power, you must be at least of the monarch rank. Otherwise, those sects would use secret techniques to open it. When she explained, therefore, other than those from the big sects, people from the east and west rarely go to the other side. Is the power of the east higher than the west? Sima Yue asked. Yes. Therefore, most of the people from the east come to the west. People from the west rarely go there. When she replied. When Sima Yue and the rest entered the city, they realized that the people here were not very powerful. It was unlikely that they would be able to pass through the barrier. Let's go over. After Sima Yue finished speaking, Wu Lingyu had already opened a gap in the barrier. The four of them walked over one after another. Wu Lingyu retracted his spirit power and closed the gap again. They were prepared to go outside to ask for directions. However, they stopped after walking for a short distance. Stay here and don't move. Sima Yue waved her hand, and a protective layer appeared to protect when she raised her head and saw a group of people coming out of the space. From their aura and gaze, she knew that they did not come with good intentions. Chapter 2276. Those people had the four beasts embroidered on their clothes. It seemed like the people from the four palaces were here. I didn't expect you to come so quickly. Fu, she sneered. I admire your spirit of death. Azure Dragon, you're still so stubborn even when you're about to die. The higher-ups have given the order to kill you on sight. He then come and try. Fushi flew into the air and transformed into the Azure Dragon. He spat out a dragon's breath at those people. Crimson Flame also transformed into his original form at the same time. The aura of the vermilion bird was released without reservation. The aura of the two divine beasts almost suffocated all the spirit beasts in the mountain. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu moved as well. There were a few people on the other side. They couldn't just rely on Fushi and Crimson Flame. Both of them didn't have any fancy moves. Every time they attacked, it was a fatal attack. And Sima Yue's understanding of space was already at the peak. With the help of teleportation, those people didn't even know where she attacked from. Sima Yue and the others purposely moved the battle far away, so that when she wouldn't be affected. A small part of the power was blocked outside by the protective circle. When she was in the protective circle, and watched the battle in the air with her mouth agape, she knew that Sima Yue and the others were strong, but she didn't expect them to be so strong. And those two, they didn't talk much and kept a low profile. She didn't expect them to be the Azure Dragon and the Vermilion Bird. At this time, she finally understood why they were looking for Hai. The battle didn't last long. Although the other side had many people, they couldn't kill them. Sima Yue and the others came back very quickly. Seeing Wen Shi in a daze, Sima Yue removed the protective circle and said, "Are you okay?" When she came back to her senses and looked at Sima Yue, she hesitated and said, "You're here to look for Black Tortoise, right? I know where Black Tortoise is." "You really know where Black Tortoise is?" "Yes. But I only know the rough location." When she said, "To tell you the truth, we're here to look for Black Tortoise. Since you know where it is, please lead the way." Sima Yue smiled. All right. Sima Yue was very happy. Previously, she thought that she would have to search along the sea area bit by bit. Now that she knew the general location, it was much easier. 3 months later, they appeared in a city near the sea. This city was very big and prosperous. It was also very close to the sea. Standing on the city wall, one could see the sea. In the past 3 months, they had encountered 2 more ambushes. Each time, there were more and more ambushes, but they were all dealt with by them. However, they were not happy, because the time between the last time was shorter than the last time. This meant that the higher-ups already knew that they were in this little realm, and they might launch a large-scale attack at any time. They didn't have much time. The black tortoise is here? Fushi did not sense the aura of the black tortoise in the city and asked. No. But this is the nearest city. When she said, my house is here. I need to go back and tell my family that I'm safe before I can accompany you there. Is that place very dangerous? Sima Yue asked. When she was stunned for a moment and nodded. The people who went there in the past few years have not returned, so I want my family to know that I went there. Tell us the location and you don't have to go. Sima Yue did not want her to be in danger. I want to go with you guys. For the first time, when Wenxi's tone had a hint of urgency, Sima Yue raised her eyebrows and looked at her. Friends, please prompt. Pay attention to the rest of your eyes after reading for a long time. 00 recommended reading. He didn't say anything. However, when she felt that all her secrets had been seen through, for the first time she said uncomfortably, I know that person. I want to meet him. After you find him, you will take him away from here, right? Sima Yue understood and said, all right then, we'll give you 1 day. We'll meet at the city gate in 1 day. All right. When she smiled gratefully at her. A sharp voice came from the side. The voice was filled with surprise and unwillingness. After hearing the voice, Wenxi's face darkened. She looked at the woman and sneered. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Mao Hongxia. When Sima Yue heard the name, she looked at the woman. She was the one who sent people to deal with Wenxi. She probably thought that everything would go smoothly, so she was surprised to see Wenxi. Speaking of which, she should be surprised. If she did not meet them, Wenxi would not have returned. However, she did not intend to interfere with their private matters. She said to Wenxi, we'll go look for an inn first. Don't forget about it tomorrow at this time. All right. Wenxi did not intend to let Sima Yue get involved. She nodded and agreed. Stop. Mao Hongxia shouted subconsciously. She did not know why she shouted. In her mind, it was because of these people that Wenxi survived. Moreover, Sima Yue was so beautiful that she subconsciously felt hostile towards her. Sima Yue glanced at her indifferently. Then, she turned and left. Mao Hongxia was nailed to the ground by her gaze. Her back was drenched in cold sweat. That gaze was too scary. When Wenxi saw that Mao Hongxia dared to scold Sima Yue, she felt a sense of satisfaction. Seeing her frightened look, she walked to her side and sneered. You're right. They saved me. You dare to stop experts like them? I really admire your courage in courting death. Mao Hongxia's gaze turned to Wenxi. She was still in a daze. Although I really want to get rid of you now, I still have things to do. I'll let you live for a few days. When I'm back, I'll settle the old and new grudges with you. When she turned and left, she could not kill Mao Hongxia now. That would offend the Mao family and delay their journey. It was more important to find Black Tortoise now. She could not be delayed because of this. She had to see him for the last time. Sima Yue and the rest went to find an inn to stay. They did not care about how when she would deal with the rest. The inn they stayed in was very high. Standing by the window of the room, they could see the sea outside the city. Wu Lingyu returned to the room. Seeing that she was in a daze, he walked over and hugged her from behind. He said softly, Are you thinking about what happened just now? Yes and no. Sima Yue leaned back on his chest. What happened just now reminded me of the first time I met Master. Your strength to me was like that woman to me today. It made me dazed for a moment. At that time, she was weak and could only look up to them. Now that she was standing at such a height, it was their turn to look up to her. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Chapter 2277. Wu Lingyu wasn't as worried as she was. He hugged her and said, The 4 great spirit beasts are much more sensitive to each other than other spirit beasts. If Black Tortoise is in the sea, let Crimson Flame release its aura and it will know. I know that. I'm just worried that something might happen to Black Tortoise, Sima Yue said. Although we've left, we can imagine the situation in the divine territory. The 4 palaces won't let Luoya Palace off, and Luoya Palace won't wait for death. Once the battle starts, it won't end until the 4 great spirit beasts are out. I wonder if it will affect the Chan family and bring danger to Xiao Dao and Xiao Yao Yao. The 2 of them have people from the underworld protecting them. They'll be fine. Wu Lingyu comforted. I hope we can find Black Tortoise and White Tiger soon and end this quickly, Sima Yue sighed. We will. The next morning, Sima Yue, Fushi and the rest went to the city gate to wait. After a while, they saw Wenxi and 2 other elders walking over. Seeing Sima Yue, Wenxi said apologetically, Yue, these 2 are our elders. They're worried about my safety, so they want to go with us. Wenxi felt embarrassed to bring them along without Yue's permission. However, her family didn't want her to go alone, so she had to compromise. Sima Yue didn't think much about the 2 extra people. They were just 2 spirit beasts, so they wouldn't affect them much. The group left the city and reached the coastline not far away. When she came to the coastline and blew a whistle. After a while, a whale swam over. The sea is quite far away. Let's ride the whale, when she said. They flew onto the whale's back, and the whale swam towards the depths of the sea. Sima Yue realized that the whale was much bigger than normal, and was very obedient. We've been living by the sea and tamed some sea beasts occasionally. It's convenient to travel. When we're not around, they're no different from normal spirit beasts. They'll only enter this state when they hear the whistle. When she explained, it was different from normal taming methods. This reminded Sima Yue of the hypnosis methods in her previous life. The whale was very fast. In a few days, they were deep into the sea. After the whale sent them to a small island, it didn't want to go any further. After this island, we'll reach the deep sea. Ordinary sea beasts wouldn't dare to enter. When she patted the whale, and it sank into the water and swam away. Miss, it's getting late. Why don't we rest on this island for a while before continuing? The one family elder suggested. The deeper they go into the sea, the more dangerous it. They didn't know the strength of Sima Yue and the others, so they didn't dare to enter rashly. One looked at Sima Yue waiting. Yue's Yue and Yue. Hence, they found a flat land by the shore and set up a few tents. When Sima Yue finished setting up the tents, she saw Wenxi standing by the sea, letting the waves wet her dress. Sima Yue walked over and accompanied her to look at the moon. She said softly, Are you thinking about the Black Tortoise's contractor? You know? When she was surprised. I don't know what happened between the 2 of you, but I know that there's a story between the 2 of you. Sima Yue turned around and smiled at her. From your expression, it doesn't look good. At least, you're not happy. How about it? Instead of being sad here, why don't you find someone to talk to? When she looked at her, perhaps she was infected by the smile on her lips, she also smiled. However, there was a hint of bitterness in her smile. The Black Tortoise's contractor is called by Xiaofei. We used to be from the same sect. But at that time, one of us was an inner disciple while the other was an outer disciple. At that time, we knew each other's names because I was a genius and he was a famous piece of trash. I once saved him when he was being bullied, so the 2 of us slowly got to know each other. When Wenxi's smile deepened as she thought about the things between the 2 of them. It seemed like the things between the 2 of them were pretty good at the beginning. Sima Yue did not rush her. She looked at the rising and falling of the sea. When she regained her senses, and smiled at Sima Yue, she continued, Later on he committed a crime and was chased out of the sect. He even stood on the opposite side of the sect. Because of some misunderstandings, our relationship became worse and worse. Then, there was one time when I chose to stand on the side of the sect. He was injured and ran away. We never saw each other again. Does he like you? Sima Yue asked. Maybe he used to like me. But he was hurt by me, so he doesn't like me anymore. When she smiled bitterly. But I never told him that I like him. If you meet him again, will you tell him? When she shook her head. I know that he made a contract with Black Tortoise. From that moment on, I knew that he would not stay here. Now that you guys are here to look for him, he will naturally leave with you guys. Since we won't meet again, why should we say it out loud? Moreover, he doesn't even want to see me. I just want to see him from afar. Seeing him leave with you guys will make me give up. Sima Yue thought that might not be the case. Although Black Tortoise was slow, it would not drag things out even though it knew that it had a heavy responsibility. So it should be its contract owner who was dragging things out. As for the reason, who knew if it was because it could not bear to part with her? Oh right. What do you guys think is going on with the sea? Because many sects were suppressing him, he retreated to the sea. Later on, there were many sea beasts in the sea. Very few people who went there could return alive. Xiao Fei was controlling the sea beasts from behind. No one saw him again. When she said, I see. Sima Yue was no longer worried. The one controlling the sea beasts was naturally Black Tortoise. As long as it was not some unfathomable natural factor, it would not be too dangerous. When we find him, we will ask him to leave with us. If you were to choose, would you go with him? Leave with him? Yes, if you were to leave with him, you would have to leave your family and your sect. Then, you would have to embark on an unknown journey with him. I have seen it too. We are being chased by people along the way. The danger is self-evident. If he leaves with us, he will be involved in these dangers. I am only asking you this question from a woman's point of view. Think about it yourself. Think about it when you see him. You won't have so much time to think about it. Sima Yue left after speaking, leaving her alone at the beach for the entire night. Chapter 2278. When Sima Yue returned to the tent, Wu Lingyu was already waiting for her on the bed. When she was done, Wu Lingyu asked her, why did you want to kidnap her and leave with us? I think that Bai Xiaofei probably couldn't bear to part with her. That's why he kept delaying the Black Tortoise from going to the Divine Region. Bringing her along would make it easier for us to persuade him. Sima Yue replied. And there's one more thing that I like about her. When I saw her standing by the sea, it was as if the world was in despair. Since it's so painful, why don't you chase after her? She grew up under all kinds of rules, so I'm just giving her some advice. What she thinks is up to her. You're so kind. Wu Lingyu hugged her. If you ask me, that Bai Xiaofei was not brave enough. Do you think everyone is as thick-skinned as you? Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him. It's better to be thick-skinned. That's the only way to get a wife, isn't it? You don't know how many times I've rejoiced that I was thick-skinned enough back then. Wu Lingyu casually set up a barrier, isolating the inside and outside of the tent, then began to attack the city. The next morning, when Sima Yue woke up, the others had already packed up their tents. They were just waiting for the two of them to finish packing up before they could set off. Now that we're here, we can only fly over ourselves, the one family elder said. Sima Yue thought for a moment, then called Little Rock out. The sea beasts here are not low level. I'm afraid that normal flying beasts will not be able to withstand them. We'll have to trouble you. Little Rock transformed into his original form and said, It's no trouble. I feel that I'm finally useful. Come on up. Sima Yue called when she and the rest up. The two Wen family elders were still in disbelief when Little Rock flew up. They could actually sit on the golden-winged rock one day. This wasn't a dream, right? They peeked at Sima Yue. They heard her say that she was very powerful, but they didn't expect her to have such a contracted beast. How strong was her true strength? They flew deeper into the sea. From time to time, there would be some auras of sea beasts emerging from the sea, but it didn't affect Little Rock much. Just as they were about to approach a small island, the spirit beasts in the sea suddenly attacked. They were no longer releasing their auras. Furthermore, there were quite a few sea beasts that came to attack. Sima Yue guessed that Black Tortoise was controlling them from behind. Little Rock nimbly dodged the attacks, causing the sea beasts to be infuriated. The two elders of the one family wiped the sweat off their foreheads as they looked at the densely packed sea beasts below. Fortunately, they were not the only ones who came. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to return alive today. Bai Xiaofei should be on the island in front. When she pointed at the island in front of them, there's a barrier in front. I can't get through. Furthermore, there is a very strong pressure here. I can't hold on much longer. Little Rock said. Little She, is this the aura of the black tortoise? Sima Yue asked Fuxi, but she was very sure. There were not many auras in this world that could make the golden-winged great rock unable to hold on. Fuxi nodded his head and flew into the air. The huge green dragon made the spirit beasts below not dare to attack again. Little Rock also did not have to dodge the attacks. He spat out a mouthful of dragon breath towards the barrier that was blocking their way. Faint ripples slowly appeared on the barrier. Fuxi spat out a few mouthfuls of dragon breath, but was unable to completely break through the barrier. It actually enveloped the entire island. Sima Yue said, "This barrier is quite sturdy. The black tortoise's shell is thick. Among the four of us, its battle prowess is weak, but its survival skills are the strongest." Fuxi said disdainfully, "Green dragon, you bastard. You actually dare to speak ill of me behind my back." A flustered and exasperated curse followed by a ray of white light. It passed through the barrier and directly attacked Fuxi. Bang bang, Fuxi swung his tail and swatted the white light into the sea. It was unknown when the spirit beasts in the sea had all dispersed. "Green dragon, you bastard. You promised not to slap me with your tail." The black tortoise cursed without any confidence. Very quickly, a palm-sized little tortoise flew out of the water and landed in front of everyone. Sima Yue curiously looked at the black tortoise. In her memory, the black tortoise should be mature and steady. Why didn't it give off the feeling of maturity and steadiness? Could it be that it was too excited? Fuxi ignored him and transformed into a human and landed beside Sima Yue. He said, "Why aren't you removing this thing of yours? Aren't you very capable? You still can't break through my defense." The black tortoise said angrily. However, it still opened its mouth and allowed Little Rock to bring everyone in. It was only after entering that Sima Yue realized that a man dressed in black had appeared by the shore without her knowing. Little Rock landed and transformed into a human, and followed beside Sima Yue. The black tortoise also transformed into a human, and looked similar to the old man in the painting. However, looking at his character, it was more like an old urchin. "Green dragon, who are these people? I know the young lady from the One family. Who are these two people? This young lady is quite pretty." The black tortoise smiled as it sized up Sima Yue. Bai Xiaofei's gaze landed on Wenxi from the start. He frowned as if he was wondering how she was related to the green dragon and the others. Sima Yue smiled at the black tortoise. With a thought, Qi Yan appeared beside her. It's actually you." The black tortoise saw Qi Yan and cried out in surprise. It even ran behind Bai Xiaofei and hid behind him in fear. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. The black tortoise was actually afraid of Qi Yan. "Since you've already returned, why are you still here?" Qi Yan reprimanded with a sullen face. "I've also just returned not long ago. I suffered serious injuries before, and have only just recovered." The black tortoise protested softly. "Also, I predicted that you would come to find me. I might as well wait for you here so that we wouldn't miss each other." Sima Yue pursed her lips. The black tortoise probably didn't believe his own words. It was obvious that he was lazy and his contractor was reluctant to leave. That was why he waited here. Qi Yan understood the black tortoise's character better than her. He snorted coldly. "You've already given up? Using your turtle shell?" "I already said that I'm not a turtle shell. If you continue to be like this, I'll get angry," the black tortoise protested. "All right, we don't have so much time to waste on you. If you have nothing else, we'll leave." Fuxi was still worried about the white tiger and urged the black tortoise. When once she heard this, she subconsciously looked at Bai Xiaofei. Thinking that he was about to leave, her heart was sour. She lowered her head to hide the tears in her eyes. The black tortoise looked at Wenxi and then at Bai Xiaofei. He transmitted his voice to him. "We should go." Bai Xiaofei cupped his hands towards everyone. "We have nothing else to do here. We've already packed our things. We can leave at any time." Just as he finished speaking, There was a familiar vibration in the air. It seemed that a group of people was chasing after them. Chapter 2279. The people from the 4 palaces came out of the space tunnel. When they saw Qi Yin and the others, they attacked without saying a word. There was Black Tortoise's barrier here. Those people attacked the barrier. With hundreds of experts attacking together, the barrier became shaky. Damn it! How can you break your great-grandfather's barrier? Black Tortoise's eyes turned red when he saw the people from the 4 palaces. He did not forget how they were defeated by the 4 beasts. Sima Yue used to create a protective circle for when this time, she did not do anything and went to fight with Wu Lingyu and the others. Bai Xiaofei was not familiar with them, but he knew about the grudge between the 4 beasts and the 4 beasts. If it was not because he was worried, he and Black Tortoise would have gone to take revenge on the people from the 4 palaces. Therefore, when they saw the people from the 4 palaces, they also flew out to join the battle. Wen Xi's strength was not weak, but it was not enough in front of the people from the 4 palaces. Therefore, she and the elders could not go out and could only watch from the barrier. She knew Sima Yue and the others' strength, so she was not worried about them. Her attention was all on Bai Xiaofei. Bai Xiaofei's strength was not as good as Sima Yue and the others, but he and Black Tortoise cooperated very well. He didn't know what he had experienced, but his attacks were filled with a biting chill. However, he had never experienced such a strong battle before. The people from the 4 palaces were much stronger than the people from Songming continent. After a long time, it was a little difficult for him to deal with them. The people from the 4 palaces seemed to have realized that he was a breakthrough point. More people rushed to him. When she was anxious, seeing that he was surrounded by people, she finally could not help it. She ignored the elders and took out her weapon and flew over. The 2 elders had no choice but to come out with her. Bai Xiaofei already felt a chill behind him. However, he did not have extra energy to deal with it. He could only take the sword. Clang, the sound of spirit weapons colliding came from behind. He looked sideways and saw her in white. He pushed back the people in front and shouted at her. "Why did you run out? I can't just stand by and watch you get hurt. Wherever you are, I will be there," when she said as she pushed him to the side and faced the person who was attacking her. Bai Xiaofei was angry, but now was not the time to scold her. However, the tacit understanding between the 2 of them was still there. With Wen Qi joining them, he was indeed a little more relaxed. However, this was unable to stop the waves of attacks from the 4 palaces. "Be careful." Bai Xiaofei heard a cry and felt a soft body hugging him, followed by the sound of a sharp weapon piercing into his body. "Miss." The 2 elders rushed over when they saw that when she was injured. Sima Yue heard the commotion and felt that it was about time. With a wave of her hand, a few hundred ancient war souls appeared and shifted all the pressure away. When Xi's body fell, Bai Xiaofei turned around and hugged her. When he saw the long sword on her back, his eyes turned red and the veins on his forehead popped out. He kept calling her name as if she would disappear in the next second. "Sheer, don't worry, I'll take you to heal now." He carried Wen Qi through the Black Tortoise's barrier and came to a small wooden house. He placed Wen Qi on the bed in the house. Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu followed him and watched him feed her pills helplessly. "Sheer, don't sleep. Open your eyes and look at me." Bai Xiaofei patted her face gently. "Brother Xiaofei, I really didn't say that I wanted to kill you. It's all Master's fault, Master's fault." When Wen Qi spoke, the blood in her chest surged up. I know. Even if everyone stood against me, you wouldn't." Bai Xiaofei grabbed her hand that was about to touch him. "Brother Xiaofei, if time could turn back, I would definitely leave with you. Unfortunately, can't follow you in the future. No. You just said that wherever I am, you will be there. How can you abandon me? In the next life, I will definitely follow you and never leave you. I don't want the next life. I want this life. You know, I didn't leave because of you. If it wasn't because I was worried about you, we would have left long ago. Why wait until now? I've waited for you for so long, you can't leave me at this time. Hearing your words, I'm satisfied." "Sure, you can't sleep. You can't abandon me. You can't. Sima Yue saw that the two of them were almost done talking and then said, if you continue to block her, you will really lose her. Bai Xiaofei stood up and said, do you have a way to save her? I do now, but if you dawdle for a while, there won't be any left. Sima Yue said, then come quickly, please save her. Bai Xiaofei stood to the side and looked at her earnestly. Sima Yue walked over and took out 2 pills to feed her. Then, she flipped her over and used a pair of scissors to remove her clothes. She took out a few silver needles and inserted a few needles around the wound. When the bleeding stopped, she cleaned the wound and took out some medicine to sprinkle on the wound. Then, she used gauze to bandage the wound. It's done. Sima Yue stood up and said, help her clean the blood stains on her body later. That's it. Bai Xiaofei saw that she didn't do much. That's it. It's just some external injuries. The effect of the pill is enough. Sima Yue said. Bai Xiaofei wanted to say that the sword had hurt her internal organs, but seeing Sima Yue's determined look, he was afraid that she would get angry and not treat when she. Sima Yue saw that he was nervous and didn't dare to offend her. It was a far cry from the cold and arrogant look he had when they first met. It seemed that when she's appearance really scared him. Don't worry, I'm the one who saved her life. Since I saved her back then, I won't let her die now. She comforted him. She met with danger before? Yes, when we first came to this mainland, she was being chased by a group of men. That she self-destructed. I stopped her from self-destructing halfway. Sima Yue said. If she wasn't lucky enough to meet us, she would probably have stayed in the West. She just recovered not long ago and I saved her again. She's really pitiful. Bai Xiaofei didn't hear the rest of her words. His mind was only filled with when she's self-destructing look. When he thought about how he almost couldn't see her again, he blamed himself. In the face of life and death, he suddenly felt that all his perseverance wasn't important anymore. Nothing was more important than her. Sima Yue saw that she had fanned the flames and turned to leave. The moment she went out, she was stopped by Black Tortoise. Chapter 2280. Black Tortoise pulled her to the side, where Qi Yan and the rest were standing. Yue, is she alright? Black Tortoise asked with concern. Don't worry, she really only suffered some superficial injuries. Sima Yue assured. It just looks dangerous, but it's nothing serious. That's good. Black Tortoise was relieved. You don't know, my contractor's temper isn't very good. He suffered a lot when he was young, and because my abilities were damaged, I couldn't help him much. Cece, that girl, could be said to be the only light in his life. Even after so many misunderstandings, that kid's heart had never changed. If something really happened to Cece, this guy wouldn't be able to take it. You're the one who found it troublesome, but you still say that Bai Xiaofei refused to leave. Fuxi reprimanded it. There are 2 reasons. Black Tortoise knocked on the turtle shell on its back, ignoring Fuxi, and continued to pull Sima Yue. Did you arrange today's matter? Why do you say so? Sima Yue smiled. She didn't deny it. It's very obvious. Since you have so many ancient war souls, why didn't you take them out earlier? They came out the moment Cece was injured. That means you were paying attention to that place. Am I right? How would I know that the people from the 4 palaces would come at this time? Sima Yue leaned in front of Black Tortoise, whispering. But you guessed it right. How is it? Isn't this a good idea? It's indeed not bad. Black Tortoise patted Sima Yue's shoulder approvingly. I was still worried about how to resolve the misunderstanding between them. I didn't expect you to solve it so quickly. Although the medicine was a little too strong, the effect was immediate. Not bad, not bad. So when she's injuries are healed, we'll leave this place. If you have anything to do, hurry up and do it. There's nothing much, but have you confirmed the location of the white tiger? Black Tortoise asked. Sima Yue looked at Fuxi. Previously, he did not mention the location of the white tiger. He only said that the white tiger had not returned. Fuxi shook his head. Master's divination only mentioned the location of the black tortoise. As for the white tiger, we still need to use your tortoise shell. I already said that it's not a tortoise shell. Azure Dragon, do you want to fight? Black Tortoise waved his hand at Fuxi and threatened. Can you beat me? Fuxi rolled her eyes at him. Let's get down to business first. Once Crimson Flame spoke, Fuxi and Black Tortoise both quieted down. Fuxi glanced at the Black Tortoise. The Black Tortoise reluctantly reached its hand into the turtle shell on its back. After rummaging around, it finally pulled out a small turtle shell. Fuxi took out other divination tools, squatted on the ground, and began to calculate. Sima Yue did not understand what they were doing, so she went to Wu Lingyu's side and waited for the results with him. Fuxi calculated again and again on the ground. He calculated again and again until Black Tortoise ran out of patience. My shell is very accurate. Is it because you're not strong enough? Black Tortoise shouted. Fuxi sat on the ground. The divination just now had consumed a lot of his energy. Sima Yue saw him like this and asked, Little Shi, you didn't calculate it? I've calculated it, but the result? Fuxi sighed heavily. How can it be? Did something happen to the white tiger? The white tiger has not contracted with its master yet. Fuxi threw out a bombshell. I calculated that the white tiger's situation should be fine, but it has not been contracted, so it can't return. Can't it not be contracted? Sima Yue asked curiously. You don't have a master, right? I died that year, and my power and inheritance were sealed in the Dragon God's order. So my current body is both a master and the Azure Dragon. Fuxi explained. But the white tiger is the same as Crimson Flame and the others. It needs a master to balance it before it can return. In other words, the white tiger has not met its master yet. So what we have to do is to find its master? Sima Yue understood. You should have calculated who its master is and where he is, right? We can go find him directly and let him contract with the white tiger. Isn't that good? In theory, that's the case. But in reality, it's not that simple. Why? Because its master is still a child. Fuxi closed his eyes and said helplessly, We have to find that child now and let him cultivate. When he has the ability, he can then contract with the white tiger. Uft, then we have to wait for a few hundred years? Not necessarily. Fuxi said. The divination said that the white tiger's master is a person who is going through a tribulation. There might be other possibilities. Yue, I still need you to do this. Me. Sima Yue blinked. What do you need me to do? According to the divination, you have a master and disciple relationship with him. Fuxi said. You need to find him, accept him as your disciple and guide his cultivation. And tell him how to contract with the white tiger. Black Tortoise continued. Fuxi shook his head and said, I can't tell him about the white tiger. The white tiger's location is unknown. Only its master can find it. Outsiders can't interfere. So, I'll have to rely on Yue for this. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Since everything else had been decided, they could only wait for Wen Shi to recover. When Sima Yue and the rest were almost done with their discussion, and returned to the wooden house, when she had already woken up. Seeing Sima Yue enter, Bai Xiaofei, who was sitting beside the bed, stood up and bowed to her. Thank you, Yue, for saving Xi'er twice. Bai Xiaofei, when she and I are considered friends. It's my duty to save her. I saved her life. Who are you to thank me? I've decided to marry Xi. I'm thanking you as her fiancé. Bai Xiaofei said solemnly. In that case, the misunderstanding has been resolved and the former enmity has been buried? Sima Yue looked at Wen Shi. She shyly buried her head in her arms. This is a good thing. What's there to be shy about? But just like what I told you before, Bai Xiaofei is destined to be with us in the future. Have you thought about it? Do you want to go with him? If I was a little hesitant before after this incident, I already know what I want. Wherever Brother Xiaofei goes, I'll go. Even if there's endless danger in the future, I won't regret it. When she raised her head and said firmly, Not bad. Then lie down obediently, and let me change the medicine for you. The sooner you recover, the sooner you can be together. She said it innocently, but it made Wen Shi blush. She lay on the bed and didn't dare to look at her. Chapter 2281. With Sima Yoyue's pills, when she's body recovered very quickly. After her body recovered, the two elders returned to the clan. When Shi and Bai Xiaofei leaving Songming continent was not a small matter. They had to go back and report to the clan. They did not have to worry about their safety on the way back. It was dangerous in the past because Black Tortoise controlled this place and did not allow outsiders to enter. Now that they had an agreement with Bai Xiaofei, this danger naturally did not exist. Black Tortoise found a sea beast for them, and let Haixing bring them out. Then, without waiting for the One Clan to reply, they held a simple wedding for her and Bai Xiaofei. When the One Clan came, they had already passed the bridal chamber. When she tied her hair up and looked completely different. When the One Clan head and madam saw her like this, they were furious. They pulled her and Bai Xiaofei into the small wooden house and talked for a long time. When they came out, their faces were still ugly, but they did not ask when she to go back with them. When she and Bai Xiaofei sent the One Clan off and walked back hand in hand, Black Tortoise leaned on Fuxi and could not help but cry. How many years has it been? I finally saw him smile again. All these years, I was almost frozen into an ice cube by him. You're stupid. Fuxi pushed him away and patted the place he leaned on in disdain. Since the matter is almost settled, let's prepare to find White Tiger, Qi Yan said. When he mentioned White Tiger, he could not help but frown. He did not know how long it would take to find White Tiger, nor did he know what would happen. Even Black Tortoise's shell could not calculate White Tiger's whereabouts. It was most likely covered by the heavens. This way, the people from the four palaces would not be able to find it, and would not be able to chase after it. Similarly, they would not be able to find it. They could only find it by looking for its contractor. It's time to go find it. But before we leave, we have to do something to distract the attention of the four palaces, Fuxi said. The people from the four palaces had been chasing after them. They had to make some preparations so that the people from the four palaces would not follow them to find White Tiger's whereabouts. A few days later, the group of people left the small island. A few days later, the four palaces arrived at the small island. One of the black-clothed men circled the small wooden house twice and began to calculate their location. After a few calculations, he vomited blood and fell to the ground. How is it? The leader walked over and asked. My lord, I can't deduce anything. They tried to cover it up, and the results of their calculations were different every time. It was impossible to know which one was correct. It's even possible that these are all wrong. Dio Swansea clutched his chest in pain. Can't you think of a way? The leader grabbed Divinator's collar and shouted. That Divinator had already suffered a backlash. Now that he was yelled at, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. After searching for a while, the people from the four palaces had no choice but to retreat. Without a specific target, the four palaces could only send more people to the few continents mentioned by the diviner. At the same time, they also increased their manpower in the other continents. This lessened the pressure on the Fallen Cliff Palace and the others on the Divine Dominion continent. Black Tortoise, Vermilion Bird, and Azure Dragon had already met up. The current situation was very grim. The most important thing now was to quickly find White Tiger and Vermilion Bird. They must not let the four divine beasts meet up. As for the Fallen Cliff Palace and the others, it would not be too late to deal with them after the four divine beasts were eliminated. At this time, Sima Yue and the others had already arrived at the Wanyan continent where White Tiger was located. That day, Junbai's divination showed that White Tiger was on this continent. Other than that, there were no other clues. Fuxi used Black Tortoise's shell to calculate more accurately, but it was only a rough area. What Sima Yue had to do was to find that person in such a large area, accept him as a disciple, and teach him cultivation. Not only that, she could not tell him about White Tiger. He could only search for it himself. Who knew how long it would take for him to find White Tiger? Just thinking about it made her feel like collapsing. No, it was a heavy responsibility. You go inside and look for it. Fuxi took her to the outside of a school. You want me to be a teacher? Sima Yu's mouth twitched. Did he make a mistake? Since we are fated to be teacher and disciple, we naturally have to lean towards this direction. Don't those who don't know how to cultivate all come here to learn? Fuxi explained. There were fewer sects in the Wanyan continent, but there were many academies. If one wanted to find someone who did not know how to cultivate, this kind of place was better. I just used black tortoise's shell to divine. That person will meet you in the academy. So, you have to work hard. We will buy a courtyard nearby. You can come and find us when you are free. Fuxi patted her shoulder and comforted her. Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu shrugged and said, I believe Yue will be a good teacher. Sima Yue, she pouted. She was not very happy. If it wasn't for the grim situation, she would have thought that they were playing a trick on her. She closed her eyes and sensed the situation in the academy. Then she turned around to look at everyone and said, You guys just wait for my news. After saying this, she walked towards the academy's gate. However, she was blocked by the guards at the gate. You are not a student of the academy. You cannot enter, the guard said. I am not a student, but I will soon become a teacher here. Sima Yue calmly said. What? The two guards looked at each other. When did the academy have such a teacher? But when they looked over again, they found that there was no one in front of them. The scene just now was like an illusion. Sima Yue walked in the academy. Looking at the students coming and going, she guessed which one was the person she was looking for. Her appearance attracted a lot of attention, especially the males. She was good-looking to begin with, and with her natural temperament, she unconsciously attracted the attention of others. Some students were more daring and directly went up to her and said, This student, I have never seen you before. Which year and which class are you from? Sima Yue blinked and said, I am not a student of the academy yet. But can you tell me how to get to the principal's office? You want to find the principal? I can bring you there. Thank you. Sima Yue smiled at him. The male student felt that he was floating. The other students were secretly hating. Why didn't they have the courage to go up and talk to her just now? He brought Sima Yue to the principal's office. While chatting on the way, Sima Yue found out that they would be recruiting new students in a few days. She thought that after meeting the principal, she would ask to be the new student's teacher. Since she said that she would bring that person into the academy, then he must have not started cultivating. A new student would fit the criteria. Chapter 2282. Sima Yue followed the student to the dean's office. Someone was talking inside, so they waited outside. Oh yes, I haven't asked you. Why are you looking for the dean? I'm here to apply for the position of a teacher, Sima Yue said. The next time you see me, I might be a teacher. Ah. The student widened his eyes in shock. This was the first time he had seen such a situation. He wanted to ask her why she only came at this time. But Sima Yue did not intend to explain. Thank you for bringing me here. I'm going in now. The student wanted to say that there was someone else in the office, but the door suddenly opened. A teacher walked out. Miss, the dean invites you in. Sima Yue entered the office. There were 3 or 4 teachers sitting inside. When they saw her enter, they all looked at her. Miss, what brings you to the academy? An old man sitting behind the desk looked at her kindly. Sima Yue thought of the dean of Dongchen Academy. He was dressed in white just like her. His hair and beard were all white, and he had a celestial aura. She bowed to the dean and said, I'm here to apply for the position of a new teacher. Do you still need teachers here? You? Miss, how old are you? The dean did not say anything, but a round-faced man sitting beside him asked first. I'm more than 200 years old. Sima Yue said honestly. More than 200 years old, and you want to be a teacher? We have a lot of students who are 400 or 500 years old who have not graduated. Since I said that I can be a teacher, I naturally have the ability. Sima Yue said confidently. Oh. Then show us your ability now. If you are qualified to be a teacher, we will hire you as a teacher. You are just toying with us. Not only will you not be a teacher, we will also hold you responsible for trespassing. The dean said. All right. What do you want to test me on? Give me a question. You don't want to ask us what we want to test you on. You can choose. How arrogant. It's good for young people to be confident. If you go overboard, you will be conceited. The round-faced teacher said. Only people with power can have such an aura. Sima Yue said. Can you refine 8th grade pills? The round-faced teacher asked. Sima Yue did not waste any more time. She took out her pill furnace and herbs, and started to refine the pills in front of them. The round-faced teacher was an alchemist. He could tell that Sima Yue was an alchemist from the way she was refining the herbs. However, he was still shocked when he saw that Sima Yue had used less than half the time to concoct a grade 8 pill. A 200 years old 8th grade alchemist. No wonder she had such confidence. Do you know how to set up arrays? Another teacher asked her. Sima Yue smiled at him and slowly disappeared under their gazes. Then, she slowly reappeared under their shocked gazes. This move made everyone unable to remain calm. They had clearly seen her disappear, but they hadn't felt the slightest fluctuation. If they hadn't been watching her, they wouldn't have noticed that she had just disappeared from the room and reappeared. Do you still want to take the other tests? Sima Yue asked. What else do you know? I know how to refine weapons, tame beasts, search for spiritual energy, medicine and poison. Sima Yue replied. If they hadn't seen her display her skills, they would have believed that she only knew how to refine them. Since she could ask them to set any questions, it meant that she was confident in the other tests as well. Pardon me for asking, but how high is your cultivation level now? Sima Yue casually set up a barrier and released a portion of her spiritual energy. Although it was only a portion, it was enough to shock everyone. Furthermore, they could tell that she had not fully revealed her abilities. It should be said that she had already reached a level that they had never reached before. Principal, may I know if I have been hired? She looked at the principal and asked. I have another question. The principal did not seem excited when he saw a genius. Why did you come here to be a teacher? The moment he asked, the other teachers quietened down. This was a very important question. They couldn't just let anyone come here to be a teacher. I am looking for someone. My friend divined that he and I have a master-disciple relationship in this academy. Sima Yue said. So you don't have to worry that I have any bad intentions. Then what kind of teacher do you want to be? This meant that he had been hired. Let's just cultivate. Sima Yue recalled that Fuxi had said that she would guide that person into the academy, so it would be best if he had a cultivation level. That wasn't right. Those who could enter the academy should already have a certain foundation in cultivation, so how could she guide him into the academy? Cough cough that, I think I should go and teach alchemy. She smiled and looked at the principal. Is that all right? Yes. The principal did not have any requests for another teacher. He could already tell that she was a strong person who would not stay in the academy for long. She would leave once she was done with her matters, so it didn't matter what teacher she became. He pointed at the round-faced teacher and said, This is the director of the alchemy faculty, Dong Li. He will arrange everything for you. Director Dong Li, I will have to trouble you. Sima Yue bowed to Dong Li. Since you have been assigned to me, then you should come with me to familiarize yourself with the environment. When the new students arrive in a few days, you can take them to class. Dong Li brought her away. Sima Yue obediently followed him and left. Principal, why did you agree to her? Someone asked. It was too dangerous to let someone of unknown origin stay in the academy. Do you think that if you don't agree, she will leave the academy? If she wants to stay here, do any of you have the ability to stop her? The principal glanced at the person who spoke. We have to be on guard at all times, so why not agree and let her come here openly? All right, if there's nothing else, you can leave. Dong Li brought her around the alchemy faculty, then brought her to an empty courtyard. This courtyard is near the back of the mountain. It's a little far from the teaching area, and it's a little small. Just make do with it. When we have a bigger courtyard, I will change it for you. Dong Li said. Sima Yue sized up the courtyard. It was not big for a teacher, but she did not have any requirements. She could live in it no matter how big or small it was. No need, I'll take this. It's better to be further away from the teaching area, it's quieter. She felt that the environment was just right. It was not easy to find such a quiet place in the noisy academy. That's good, you can tell me if you have any requests. Dongli took out a stack of papers and said, "This is our academy's introduction and rules. You can take a look at it when you have the time. You can't let new students come in as a teacher. You are also blind, right?" Sima Yue took it and sent Dongli away, then cleaned up the room, and began her teaching career here. Chapter 2283. Sima Yue had never thought that she would become a teacher one day. When she accepted Mu Si as her disciple, it was mostly due to external factors. If Mu Si's adoptive father didn't die because of Sima Lu Xian, if he didn't follow her out of Ghost City, she might not have accepted him as her disciple. Now that she thought about how she was going to have a large group of students, she felt a little strange. When she thought about the White Tiger contract that she had no clue about, her strange feeling turned into helplessness. In the past few days, she had read through the school's introduction and rules, and had a rough understanding of it. Qingfeng Academy was considered a clear stream in the school. The other academies were entangled with various powers, and their students had become the reserve army of those powers. Only Qingfeng Academy abided by the school rules, and was unwilling to rely on those powers. If it was just an ordinary academy, it would be fine, but it was better than the other academies in all aspects. Sima Yue could imagine that Qingfeng Academy would be seen as a thorn in the side sooner or later. For example, those powers that it had rejected, like the other academies. After familiarizing herself with the situation in the academy, it was finally time for the new student selection. She had nothing to do, and when she wandered around the academy, she consciously turned to the place where the new students were selected. The teachers in the academy all knew that there was a new alchemy teacher in the academy. They all knew that she was mysterious and strong. She was very young and also very beautiful. So the teacher in charge of the assessment recognized her when he saw her, and even greeted her, asking if she had anything to do. "I'm just looking around, you guys continue," Sima Yue said as she went to sit at the side and quietly watched the teacher organize the assessment for those who wanted to enter the academy. She looked at those young faces and thought of the first time she saw Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang. At that time, the two of them also stood in the queue like this. It was only when they tested that they had multiple spiritual powers that everyone's attention fell on them. The incident at that time was still vivid in her mind, as if it was yesterday. At this time, a few beast carriages ran over from the back and didn't stop in front of the queue. When the people in the queue saw the beast carriages rushing over, they dispersed. The beast carriages stopped in front of the glazed ball. Those young people were furious at first, but when they saw the symbol on the carriage clearly, they could only suppress their anger in their hearts, not daring to say anything. The teacher in charge of the assessment had a bad expression. When he saw the people coming down from the beast carriages, he didn't have a good expression. 7th Young Master, if you are here to participate in the Academy's assessment, please line up at the back, the teacher said. The one who came down from the beast carriage was a teenager. He raised his chin, looked at the teacher arrogantly and said, "What did you say? It's your honor that this young master came here to learn. It's fine if you don't invite me over with a palanquin, but you actually want this young master to line up?" According to the Academy's rules, everyone who comes later has to line up. 7th Young Master, please. Hee, the Clear Wind Academy's rules are really strict. Since this prince is here, do I have to line up as well? A young man of about the same age got out of the beast carriage behind them and stared at the teacher with malicious eyes. There was a smile on his face, but it sent chills down everyone's spine. This person was definitely not someone to be trifled with. However, Sima Yue did not care about such a character at all. Her attention was focused on the few guards standing beside the carriage. Have you ever seen a monarch-level expert as an ordinary guard? Even the coachman was one. These people must have come with ill intentions. 4th Prince, why have you come to a small academy like ours? The teacher in charge of the assessment spoke in a more respectful manner, but there was still no smile on his face. This prince is naturally here to participate in the selection of new students. The fourth prince walked to the side of the seventh young master and said, "Do you think this prince needs to line up as well?" Sima Yue looked at the teacher in charge of the assessment, thinking that they should give the imperial family some face. She did not expect that the teacher in charge of the assessment would nod his head and say seriously, "That's right. Fourth prince and seventh young master, please line up at the back." Sima Yue raised an eyebrow. The teacher in charge of the assessment should have been able to see the strength of the guards and rejected them so bluntly. Could it be that the teachers in the academy were all so unyielding? Or could it be that the relationship between the two parties was so bad that there was no need to give the other party any face? She propped up her chin with her left hand and tapped lightly on the table with her right, not saying a word as she continued to watch. The fourth prince's face fell and he stared coldly at the teacher in charge of the assessment. "Say that again?" "Fourth prince, since you intend to enter our academy to study, then you should be familiar with the rules of our academy. So please line up at the back," the teacher in charge of the assessment said. "Impudent." The guard beside the fourth prince shouted, and without any explanation, he struck his palm towards the teacher in charge of the assessment. The teacher in charge of the assessment did not expect them to attack so suddenly, and was unable to react in time. He was sent flying and fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "You're just a teacher in the academy. How dare you disregard the fourth prince and the imperial family? Today, we'll teach you how to conduct yourself on behalf of the academy," the seventh young master said. "All of you go and tell him what the way of a ruler is." As soon as he finished speaking, the person who had attacked just now began to condense his spiritual energy. Sima Yue's eyes darkened. That person's actions were obviously trying to kill the teacher in charge of the assessment. The teacher in charge of the assessment also realized that he had been imprisoned by an unknown force and could not move at all. Not only him, but even the teacher who was assisting the assessment was also imprisoned. He could only watch as the spiritual energy attacked the teacher in charge of the assessment. All the students present were shocked. They did not expect the selection to suddenly turn out like this. Everyone thought that the teacher in charge of the assessment would definitely die. Unexpectedly, after the spiritual energy dissipated, he was still in the same state as before. Everyone was shocked, and the fourth prince and his guards were even more shocked. Today's incident was planned by them, and they knew that they had secretly sent experts. What they wanted to do was to provoke a conflict with the academy. They did not expect that the teacher in charge of the assessment would be saved by someone under such circumstances. Furthermore, they did not even feel that someone had made a move. How could they not be worried? They thought that the dean had made a move, but the dean did not appear at all. At this moment, they were being surrounded by people and could not get away. Could it be that there were other experts in the academy? The fourth prince gave the guard a look, and the guard attacked again. This time, his strength was even stronger than before. Just as he was about to touch the teacher in charge of the assessment, a light breeze blew past, and the spiritual energy dissipated just like that. Only then did everyone turn their attention to the girl in white sitting behind the table. She looked quite young. Was it really her? Chapter 2284. Who are you? How dare you obstruct us from enforcing the law? The guard shouted. Enforcing the law. Sima Yue lowered her left hand and looked at the fourth prince. Weren't you guys teaching this teacher a lesson on behalf of the academy? Why are you enforcing the law now? I wonder which law you guys are upholding. Who are you? The fourth prince looked at Sima Yue with vigilance. She was sitting there just now, but they didn't notice her. She was actually able to suppress her presence to such an extent. It seemed like she wasn't someone to be trifled with. But when did the Clear Wind Academy have such a person? Would this person become a variable in their plan to reclaim the Clear Wind Academy? I am a teacher who just arrived at the academy, Sima Yue replied. You guys killed a teacher at the academy's entrance. Don't you think that you guys are going overboard? Impudent. The fourth prince is teaching a lesson to someone who doesn't understand his honor, and you actually stepped in to protect him. I think you guys are in cahoots with him. You guys don't even put the fourth prince and the imperial family in your eyes. The seventh young master shouted. Ooft! Hearing those people's words, Sima Yue laughed out loud. Her contemptuous gaze seemed to have seen through everything, making the fourth prince and the others very unhappy. What are you laughing at? Do you know what crime it is to mock the imperial family? The seventh young master asked. I don't know what crime it is, but I know that no matter what we say or do today, you guys will pin this crime on us. Sima Yue said. You guys have 18 monarch-level experts as your guards, and 3 paragon-level experts secretly holding the fort. Don't tell me that every prince has the same guards as the fourth prince when he goes out. I think that even the emperor doesn't have so many experts protecting him when he goes out, right? Oh right, seventh young master. The guards beside you are also such experts. Are you a prince as well? What nonsense are you talking about? The seventh young master shouted, and the other guard beside him immediately attacked Sima Yue. The two of them weren't far apart, and the spiritual energy almost reached her in the next second. However, she just disappeared from where she was standing. Where is she? The students exclaimed when they saw that Sima Yue had disappeared. The fourth prince and the others, as well as the teachers of the sect, were extremely surprised. Sima Yue had disappeared without a trace. Furthermore, there wasn't a single trace or movement. They had no idea where she had gone. Ah! A blood-curdling scream was heard as a figure fell from the sky and landed outside the academy's gate. Following that, 2 other people also landed from different directions. When the fourth prince saw those 3 people, his face instantly turned ashen. Without waiting for him to react, Sima Yu's sleeves fluttered as she descended from the sky. She's like a fairy descending to the mortal world. Someone exclaimed. Sima Yue landed in front of the examiner, looked at the fourth prince and said, Fourth prince, are you going to line up or go back? She didn't say who the 3 people on the ground were, but the fourth prince knew. In such a short period of time, Sima Yue had found 3 monarch-level experts. If he was smart, he would know what to choose. Their plan had been exposed, and the other party was terrifyingly strong. With such people around, it would be impossible for them to succeed today. If this woman attacked him, no one would be able to stop him even if he died. I've never lined up in my entire life. Let's go back. The fourth prince flung his sleeves, turned around and boarded the beast carriage, and left with his people. They didn't have the arrogance they had when they arrived, and left rather pathetically. After they left, Sima Yue turned to look at the examiner and asked, Are you all right? The examiner had already stood up and bowed to Sima Yue. Thank you, Teacher Yue, for saving my life. These kids couldn't tell, but he knew. Just now, Sima Yue had used the space seal to seal the space around him, saving his life. You're welcome. Since we're colleagues, it's only right for me to lend a hand. Sima Yue smiled. Teacher Chen, we've completely offended the fourth prince's faction today. Another teacher said worriedly. Sima Yue had directly chased the fourth prince away, which meant that the academy had completely fallen out with the other party. No matter if Teacher Yue helped us or not, we'll definitely fall out with them today. Teacher Chen said, Look at the people he brought. No matter what we do today, they'll still take action. If we dare to attack the fourth prince, those people will use this as an excuse to attack the academy. The reason why they chose to do it today was because they thought that if they could affect the new students during the battle, the families behind them might also find trouble with us. When that time comes, we'll be surrounded by enemies. I know, Sai. There's nothing to worry about. There'll be a way to solve this. Organize them to continue with the new students' selection. Teacher Yue and I will go and talk to the dean about this. After Teacher Chen finished speaking, he handed over the new students' selection to the other teachers, and left with Sima Yue. After they left, the little fellows who were queuing up were all excited. Just now, Sima Yue was too handsome. That celestial aura around her made people's hearts beat faster. That action of hers made people worship her. Everyone's hearts were about to fly to her. Teacher, is that teacher from the academy? Does he know how to teach the new students? Someone shouted. That's a teacher from the alchemy faculty. Chapter 2285. Dean, the fourth prince didn't succeed today. I wonder if they have any other plans? If they can't wait, we have to take action. The array master said. Yue, after what you did today, they won't do anything for now. The dean said. This will give us some time to prepare. That's right, we should do something. Dong Li agreed. Do you need me to do anything? Sima Yue asked. From what they said, they had planned something, but they didn't put it into action. Since he had borrowed their territory, he should at least do something for them. You don't have to do anything. Your existence is the most beneficial thing for us. The dean said. With her around, those people wouldn't dare to touch the academy. It was a pity that she couldn't stay in the academy forever. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to do anything. Even if she stood there, they wouldn't dare to provoke her. If that's the case, you guys can discuss. I'll go back first. Sima Yue nodded at them and left. Dean, why don't you let her join in? Someone asked. She said that she's looking for someone here. Once she finds him, she'll leave. This period of time can be long or short. If we rely on her too much, what will we do when she leaves? The dean said earnestly. We still have to rely on our own strength. Right now, the fight between the first prince and the fourth prince for the throne has reached a stage where it is in full swing. And those powers have already taken sides. But the first prince and the fourth prince aren't benevolent. No matter who takes the throne, the other side and those who are neutral will be eliminated. Dong Li said. So we can't let them take the throne. But the other princes are mediocre. They're weak and don't have any power behind them. It won't be easy for us to support one of them. Even if it's not easy, we have to do it. We can't wait for the first prince or the fourth prince to take the throne. The dean said. Dean He, how's the investigation going? During this period of time, I've investigated the second prince, the third prince and the fifth prince. The second prince secretly supports the first prince and has a vicious personality. The third prince doesn't rely on any side. He's weak and his cultivation talent is mediocre. As for the fifth prince, on the surface, he seemed to have no interest in the throne, but in reality, he was secretly accumulating his strength. Moreover, his benevolence and righteousness are just on the surface. Well, President, these three princes, although they didn't want to stand on the side of the first prince and the fourth prince, the remaining three princes were too weak. They couldn't even choose a better one among the shorter ones. The old dean closed his eyes and thought for a while, then said, We have another candidate. Who? Sixth prince. Sixth prince. He has been guarding the imperial mausoleum all this time. He is really poor and has no power by his side. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Hiss. The young man climbed up from the ground and reached out to touch his buttocks. The way he grimaced made Sima Yue smile. Seeing that he still wanted to climb the wall, she said, You're looking for Dong Li? He's not here now. The young man was shocked. He turned around with panic in his eyes, like a frightened deer. Sima Yue couldn't help but praise those clean eyes. When did you get here? The young man blinked his eyes, trying to make himself look less panicked. Sima Yue pointed at the wall and said with a smile, I was already here when you were still there. Ah. Then didn't you see everything? The young man's face turned red. He looked left and right, as if he had done something wrong. Yes, I saw everything. Are you looking for Dong Li? Sima Yue asked. Yes, I'm looking for him. In the classroom, he's not here. I came over to take a look. The young man stared at her. Do you know where he is? Sima Yue noticed that the way he spoke was a little special. Looking at his slow movements, she instantly understood that he was a child who hadn't developed mentally yet. She slowed down and said, He's discussing something with the dean. Why are you looking for him? Chapter 2286. The youth pursed his lips and hesitantly stared at her for a while. Then he turned around and ran away. Sima Yue watched him run away. She didn't stop him and left with a smile. How could there be such a child in the academy? He wasn't intelligent and didn't have any spiritual power, yet he ran around. Sima Yue suddenly stopped in her tracks. No spiritual power. No spiritual power. In the entire academy, even the new students had already started cultivating. This youth was probably the only one who didn't know how to cultivate. Wasn't that the person she was looking for? It couldn't be? Could it be that White Tiger's contractor was someone who wasn't intelligent? How was she going to teach someone like him how to cultivate? She turned around and looked in the direction the youth left. After hesitating for a while, she still left. She decided to go back and ask Dong Li about this youth's situation. She didn't see Dong Li or that youth for 2 or 3 days. She didn't have the chance to ask. After a few days, she went to class. This was the first time in her life that she went to class. Looking at the young faces below, she suddenly felt that she was old. She didn't know if Feng Zhixing had the same feeling when he saw her. When the students saw her, they were all extremely excited. Some of them saw what happened on the day of the new students' selection. Some of them heard about it from others. No matter what they saw or heard, they were all extremely curious about her. Knowing that Sima Yue was teaching new students, the students from other grades were all extremely envious. Such a beautiful and fairy-like girl was their teacher. How fortunate. Hello everyone, I'm your alchemy teacher, Sima Yue. From today onwards, I'll be teaching you how to refine pills. Before class starts, let me understand your situation. How many of you know how to refine pills? Almost everyone raised their hands. And since they all knew how to refine pills, it would be much easier to teach them later on. Since you all know how to refine pills, I don't need to repeat the 3 steps of refining pills. Now come out one by one and refine 2 medicinal ingredients. The alchemy teacher's classroom was not like a normal classroom. The tables and chairs were placed in a circle against the wall. There was a pill furnace in front of the classroom, and the medicinal ingredients were placed in front of it. After she finished speaking, she went to the side and took out a chair to sit down. She watched the students refine the medicinal ingredients one by one. Each student refined 2 medicinal ingredients. It didn't matter if they succeeded or not or how pure they were. With more than 30 students, half a day passed. Some people were able to refine it with high purity, and some even failed twice. Those who succeeded were naturally happy, while those who failed were a little embarrassed. Sima Yue sat on the chair and looked around. She took in everyone's expressions and said, "That's all for the morning class. In the afternoon, we'll start learning how to refine." Teacher Yue, since we already know how to refine, why do we still need to learn? Those who don't know how to refine, just let them practice on their own. There's no need to drag down everyone's progress, right? A woman stood up and said. Sima Yue glanced at her. She was the best out of all of them. This girl must have been carefully nurtured by a large family. Regardless of technique or purity, she was much better than the other students. At the same time, his sense of superiority was much stronger than others. You've refined 50% of the essence, which is very impressive for your age. However, there were still some things that needed attention. What your master and I said will be slightly different. Listen to it again, maybe there will be other effects. Sima Yue said. Of course, I'm more open-minded. If you're willing to come to class, then come. If you're not willing to listen, you can go to the alchemy room to practice. However, if you're not in class, you won't know what I said in class. If you ask me after class, I won't answer you. Hearing her words, a few of them smiled. They were already good at refining. They came to the school to learn more, and not to refine such basic knowledge. Now that she was around, they could openly not come to class. The woman who spoke was disdainful when she heard her words. She didn't know why her family sent her to the school. Her master had already reached level 9 in refining. Wouldn't it be better for her to learn from her master and her family? Why did she have to come here and waste her time with these people? Her master said that she was already very good at refining. What she needed now was practice, not theoretical knowledge. Therefore, it didn't matter whether she listened or not. Moreover, this teacher was so young. How could she be better than her master? Sima Yue saw that the woman was not convinced. Although she was talented, she didn't have a good personality. Since she was her student, she would teach her properly. This way, she wouldn't waste her talent. Moreover, if she didn't show her skills, these students wouldn't know how good their teacher was. Come here. She called the woman over and took out 2 types of herbs. She lit the fire in the alchemy furnace and followed the woman's steps and movements to refine 2 portions of the same essence. Wow, teacher, you're so good. All the students were shocked. She had only seen them refine it once, but she was able to remember their refining method. She was too strong. That lady was even more surprised because her master had said before that their method of refining was not common and was very complicated. Sima Yu had only seen it once and knew it. Furthermore, she had even remembered the heat and time that she had used. Even her master would not be able to do that. Sima Yue didn't say much. She took out 2 portions of the same herbs and used the same method to refine them again. However, this time, she made some changes. The purity of the refined essence increased by 3 levels and reached 80%. She placed the 2 portions of essence on the table and said, "Refining is the most basic part of refining pills. However, it is also the most important part. If you want to build a skyscraper, the more solid the foundation, the better. You may be better than others here, but there will always be someone better than you. If you have talent, you should focus on learning so that you don't disappoint the heavens." The few students who had been complacent just a moment ago all blushed in shame. "Teacher, can you use your own method to refine this herb?" A student asked. "Of course I can." She took out 2 more portions of herbs and used her own refining methods to refine them. She placed them on the table and left after announcing the end of class. In the classroom, no one left. They looked at the essence that Sima Yue refined and were shocked. This purity is almost 100%. Teacher is right. We don't have anything to be proud of in heaven beyond heaven. We actually have such a good teacher. We must work harder in the future. Sima Yue didn't care about the students' reactions. She walked out of the classroom and looked at the other classroom. She saw the young man in black again. When the young man saw her, he was stunned for a moment before running away. Chapter 2287. When Sima Yue went to class in the afternoon, none of the students skipped class. They were all obediently waiting for her in the classroom. When they saw her enter, their gazes were even hotter than in the morning. Previously, they had only heard about what she did during the selection of new students. They only idolized her. After what happened in the morning, they had already prostrated themselves before her and idolized her to the core. Furthermore, after that, no one refuted what Sima Yue said. What made them the happiest was that Sima Yue's lectures were concise and comprehensive, lively and interesting. Her suggestions were also straight to the point. This made them enjoy such a boring class. During the time that Sima Yue taught them, everyone had improved greatly. After she finished explaining the theory, Sima Yue brought them to the alchemy classroom. She let them use their points to exchange for the same herbs, and let them practice alchemy on their own. Sima Yue would patrol the classroom while they were practicing. She would guide them one by one and point out their shortcomings in practice. If someone failed, she would not blame them. Instead, she would encourage them to try again. If someone's furnace exploded, regardless of whether she was there or not, she would be able to set up a protective circle around the student. This would reduce the student's risk of getting injured. Thus, with her around, the students were able to relax and try many things that they did not dare to try before. This greatly broadened their path of alchemy. The other students also knew that her lectures were good and many of them came to listen in. Sima Yue did not object to it as long as it did not affect the other teachers' classes. On this day, she brought the students to the alchemy room to practice alchemy. Suddenly, she saw a figure appear by the window of the alchemy room. He was lying on the windowsill, quietly watching the students in the classroom practice alchemy. He was so focused on them that he did not even notice her walking beside him. "You like alchemy?" she asked. The young man was shocked and wanted to run away. However, Sima Yue grabbed his arm. "Don't you want to watch them practice alchemy?" she asked. "I can bring you to the classroom." The young man turned around and stared at her. Indeed, she did not mock him like the other teachers. Instead, she seriously said that she would bring him to the classroom. His struggling body gradually stopped. Let's go. I'll bring you in. Sima Yue held his hand and led him to the classroom. Everyone in the classroom looked at him curiously when they saw him. He's just a student who's here to visit. You don't have to care about him. Just continue refining your pills and pretend that he doesn't exist. Sima Yue said. The students were only curious for a moment. For someone who had nothing to do with this, they felt that their own alchemy was more important. Very quickly, they returned their attention to the pill furnace. Sima Yue stood at the front of the classroom with the young man beside her. He looked at everyone excitedly. What's your name? Sima Yue asked softly, afraid that she would scare him again. Yuxing, my name is Mo Yuxing. After the young man finished speaking, he turned his head and smiled at her. Mo Yuxing was actually given such a name by a man. However, it suited him quite well. His eyes were as clean as the rain. Do you like watching people concoct pills? She asked again. Mo Yuxing nodded his head vigorously. Dongli is only for me to watch. I'm not allowed to do anything else. So after not seeing Dongli for a few days, you went to his courtyard? I wanted to see if he was around. Mo Yuxing's white face was slightly red. It seemed that he knew how to be shy. Teacher Dongli has something to do recently. He's not in the academy. His classes have been taken over by others. Sima Yue explained. I know. I haven't seen him in a few days. Mo Yuxing said. What a smart child. Sima Yue praised. Although Mo Yuxing's body was that of a 16-year-old, and he was slightly taller than her, his pure smile and bright eyes made people unconsciously treat him as a child. Hearing her praise, Mo Yuxing smiled even more brightly. Where do you usually stay? Sima Yue enticed him step by step. And it was to deepen their impression of each other. In the small garden. Where's the small garden? In the big garden. Where's the big garden? Where's the big garden? I don't know. Sima Yue facepalmed. Why was she being led to a ditch by him? Do you live alone? Or with others? I'm alone. Mother said that I've already grown up. I have to do my own things and live alone. If I'm obedient now, Mother will wake up. Mo Yuxing's childish voice was very serious. However, it made Sima Yue sad. Do you want to move to my courtyard? You can see a lot of medicinal ingredients there. You can also come to class with me. This way you won't miss their alchemy classes. No. Mo Yuxing shook his head. I live alone. Even if you move to my place, you'll still live alone. You have your own room and you have to do your own things. I won't help you. Sima Yue said. Your life won't change. However, you can follow me to class and watch them refine pills. Sometimes I'll refine pills at my place too. How about it, do you want to go? Mo Yuxing hesitated for a moment before nodding his head in the end. Sima Yue smiled and said, Then after class, I'll go with you to move things? Okay. After confirming this matter, Mo Yuxing focused on watching them refine pills. Sima Yue did not disturb him, and went to watch the students refine pills one by one. She also gave them some pointers.